Chapter 1260. Big Brother, there seems to be something above us, Yihong said in a low voice. Everyone became vigilant, and even their heartbeats became much faster. Following Yihong's words, everyone became serious, and they didn't even dare to raise their heads. Everyone was using sound transmissions to talk to each other. Run, Yihong said gravely. Other than running, there doesn't seem to be any other way out. Yi Juetian took a glance upwards and immediately saw densely packed bugs. These bugs actually know how to conceal their aura, and they don't even know that they are above us. That densely packed made people feel disgusted. And if it was someone with trypophobia who saw this scene, they would definitely feel very uncomfortable and might even vomit. Especially the women at the scene. When they saw this scene, their entire bodies felt cold. In this plane, the big prehistoric ferocious beasts might not be that scary, but the most scary ones were the small ones, because there were a lot of small ones. There were a few times more than the big ones. Just like right now, every single one of them was a prehistoric ferocious beast. If they were to attack, the consequences would be hard to imagine. I originally thought that this karst cave would be very safe, but it turns out that it was all an illusion. Looking at the dark night outside, Yi Juetian knew that both sides were very dangerous, and the outside at night was even scarier. However, right now, there was only one choice, and that was to run. Yi Juetian told everyone, 3 seconds from the countdown. Run out without any regard for your life, and don't ever turn back. Everyone knew that facing so many prehistoric ferocious beasts, they could only run. There was no chance of winning at all. Following Yi Juetian's countdown, everyone burst out with an unprecedented strength and ran with all their might. However, the thousands of bugs seemed to be letting out low roars, and their delicious prey actually ran away. In the dark night, they were just like a group of locusts, letting out buzzing sounds as they chased after one another under the moonlight. Luckily, everyone's speed was not slow, and the distance between them was gradually increasing. Finally, everyone let out a sigh of relief. They seemed to have stopped chasing. When Xia said in a low voice as she tightly wrinkled her brows, everyone did not feel happy just because the bugs stopped chasing. On the contrary, their expressions became even more grave. The reason why they stopped chasing was because they came to someone else's territory, and even they did not dare to provoke them. Everyone, be careful, Yi Juetian shouted out gravely. Right now, Yi Juetian had the aura of a leader, and under this kind of tempering, there was still an effect. Everyone slightly increased their flying altitude, but they didn't dare to fly too high, because there was a possibility that there were prehistoric ferocious beasts in the clouds. In this place, there was nothing that you could not think of. There was a possibility that even those unremarkable rocks on the roadside could be prehistoric ferocious beasts. However, there were very few great desolate divine beasts here. Everyone wanted to find a place where great desolate divine beasts resided. Only then would they be slightly safer. At least he could sleep well at night. Just when everyone felt a little safer, a terrifying aura came from below, only to see a bright red, unknown object attack. Its speed was so fast that it left people speechless, directly entangling Dongfang Yu Er's delicate body. His reaction was still the fastest, and he directly pulled Dongfang Yu Er's hand. Yi Juetian immediately drew his saber and slashed towards the unknown object with a powerful saber chi. However, it did not break and only left behind a thin gash. A howl sounded out from below, as if it was in great pain, and it let go of Dongfang Yuan Er. This is a tongue, LV Liang exclaimed as he saw the mucus on the tongue. Yihong lowered her head to take a look. There seemed to be something jumping below. It looked like a stone, and there were a lot of them. There were at least 100 of them. After a few breaths of time, everything stopped moving. However, their heads faced the crowd and opened their bloody mouths. Run! Yi Juetian did not even think and immediately shouted. These were most likely iron demon frogs. In the book that Big Brother gave him, it was recorded that the tongues of these terrifying, great desolate beasts were extremely powerful. From what he saw just now, it could be seen that his weapon could only leave a shallow wound on their tongues. Their tongues were their strongest weapons. They could be long or short, and they could even spin 360 degrees without any blind spots. That kind of terror was unimaginable. He even noted that if he met these monsters, he could only run and not think about anything else. Over 100 red tongues attacked towards the sky, as if they were missiles, bringing with them a terrifying aura. Everyone took out their weapons and dodged the sticky tongues. At the tip of the tongues, there was an extremely sticky liquid, and as long as one came into contact with it, they would probably have to cut off their tongues to escape. Just now, Dongfang Yuan Air was only let go. To everyone, the tongues that were rising in a straight line were very easy to dodge. However, everyone miscalculated. Right after they dodged, the tongues actually turned around and floated away. Furthermore, the trajectory of the tongues this time was very hard to fathom. After all, there were over 100 tongues, and even their escape routes were all sealed off. Kill! Yi Juetian shouted out angrily. There was no other way, they could only kill. It wasn't that everyone had never encountered this kind of situation before, and they were basically surrounded and attacked every single time. However, this time, it seemed like it was a bit troublesome. The tongues were too powerful. When everyone's weapons slashed onto the tongues, sparks were even emitted out. When everyone's weapons slashed onto the weak points of the tongues, they only managed to leave behind a slight wound, and this only angered these great desolate beasts. Everyone was indescribably shocked. Are these great desolate beasts or not? How can there be such monsters? Ah! Yi Juetian suddenly cried out miserably. His entire body was trapped by 3 tongues, and he was unable to move at all. Following that, Yi Juetian's line of defense failed, and when Xia and Bai Xiaojun were also entangled in battle. With 3 less lines of defense, the entire team was facing a huge danger. Yi Juetian used all of his strength to break through, but it was still useless. The green and red brothers wanted to go and save Bai Xiaojun, but there were over 10 tongues that were currently tightening around them. Everyone fell into an incomparably difficult situation. After going through so many near-death experiences, we still ended up failing today. These damnable tongues, to think that they're actually this stubborn. If I had known earlier, I would have fought with those bugs just now, and maybe I would have been able to find an opportunity to kill them. How are we supposed to break through these tongues? Li Hun shouted out. Everyone knew that all of the great desolate beasts had a weakness, and as long as we find the weakness and kill the great desolate beast with a single move, everything would be fine. However, there's still a need for a process. After all, how could it be that easy to find a weakness of the great desolate beasts? The long sword in Sun Fang's hand transformed into a few sword chi, but the sword chi was only able to slightly slow down the speed of the tongues, and was unable to harm the tongues at all. In actuality, this region was a no-fly zone, but just now we were running for our lives. Who would have the time to care about anything else? As long as we were able to fly in the sky, we would be able to slowly torture these great desolate beasts. Every single great desolate beast had their own strengths and weaknesses. For example, what about close combat? The space that these tongues had to move around and would be greatly reduced, and if we were to move around in a more coquettish manner, we would be able to make them entangle with each other. Chapter 1261. Here, not only did one have to rely on strength, they also had to rely on their brains. However, no one had the time to think about this problem. They were given too little time. A minute later, all of them were entangled, causing them to feel despair. Big brother, Yihong shouted out while looking at her big brother LV Tao, who was at the side. LV Liang felt a bit guilty. Xiao Hong, big brother is useless. I've let down my sister-in-law. Don't say any more, big brother. This is my own decision. Being able to die together with big brother is already worth it. Just that, I didn't get the chance to apologize to Zishan. Yihong sighed softly. She knew that there was no hope of escaping in this situation. These toads were simply too abnormal. They were no match for them in the air. Tang Wei, Li Hun, Sun Fang, still Yi and the others were all thinking about their own men. The first 3 either betrayed and kidnapped, and the one with broken bones directly turned into a gigantic dragon. However, they still chose to come over. Their courage was commendable. Yi Juetian was also wrapped around fiercely, unable to move. His gaze carried a hint of a distorted expression, as if he was unwilling to die just like that. However, just as Yi Juetian was struggling, the power in his body was gradually fading away. Yi Juetian turned pale with fright. These prehistoric ferocious beasts are actually able to absorb the power of their prey, causing their prey to be unable to struggle or resist. Everyone felt their strength gradually draining away, and their bodies became limp. However, their minds were still clear, and they knew that they were doomed. Right now, Yi Juetian didn't have any other choice, and the first thing that appeared in his mind was his mother. I can't be filial to my mother anymore, and there's still Big Brother. In the future, I'll have to rely on Big Brother to take care of my mother. Yi's figure also appeared. If it's possible, I really want to say I'm sorry in front of Yi. Finally, there was Gong Yu. This woman had sacrificed too much for him. It was his responsibility to take care of her. However, from the looks of it now, I'm afraid that I won't be able to take care of Gong Yu in the future. I can only rely on Big Brother to take good care of Gong Yu in the future. Big Brother shouldn't make things too difficult for Gong Yu. After all, Gong Yu is also my woman, and I'm already dead. Looking at this, Big Brother won't be too excessive. At this moment, everyone was thinking about the person in their hearts. Only before death could they understand who the most important person in their hearts was, and what they regretted not doing. All of them, meanwhile, Absolute Heaven, who had come down to monitor the situation, was currently quarreling with the pig liver hyena. The two of them quarreled almost every day. They were like two women. The whole palace was their battlefield. They were like shrews. However, just as everyone was waiting for death to descend, a terrifying aura attacked. It was a crescent-shaped silver saber-chi. With this slash, hundreds of tongues were all severed. Everyone could feel that the prehistoric ferocious beasts below were letting out howls of grief, and with fear in their hearts, they ran away. The tongue on his body gradually loosened. What happened? Yihong asked blankly. I'm already prepared to die, yet you are telling me that I actually won't be able to die. This kind of feeling is truly hard to accept. It seems like someone saved us. Tang Wei muttered, thinking in her heart, could it be Wei Chong? Is it really him? It can't be his honor, right? LV Liang asked curiously. Other than his honor, who else could it be? Yi Juetian felt that his big brother had come to save him. A black figure suddenly appeared in front of everyone. When the group of people saw this black figure, their eyes were filled with doubt. What was this? Who? If it was his honor or anyone else, is there a need for them to act like this? It was obviously not needed. In that case, it must be someone else. Senior, you are? Yi Juetian asked respectfully. To be able to get rid of those tongues in an instant, that person's strength was definitely above theirs, and furthermore, that person had even saved us. The black figure took off his mask and revealed an exquisite face. Although he wasn't very handsome, the feeling that he gave others was rather reliable and seemed to be trustworthy. Me? Who am I? I don't know either. The black figure said lightly, and a confused look could be seen on his face. Don't know who I am? Yi Juetian and the others were filled with question marks. Big Brother had said before that in this plane, other than prehistoric ferocious beasts or divine beasts, there were basically no other living beings. For a person to suddenly appear in this plane, how could they not be shocked? You don't know what your name is? Tang Wei asked puzzledly. The black figure said faintly, although I don't know what my name is, you all can call me Guardian. Guardian? Everyone's jaws were about to drop onto the ground. Because recently, Yi Zizi had also brought back a guardian, and the guardian was called Rin Yao. However, this was also a guardian, so how could everyone not exclaim in admiration? You are a guardian? Yi Juetian asked in shock. Yes, the male said faintly. Then, do you know Rin Yao? Sun Fong asked. Rin Yao? I don't know him. Is he also a guardian? The male asked curiously. Li Hun nodded his head. Yes, he is also a guardian, and his name is Rin Yao. That's great. Can I meet him? The male seemed to have a goal. and his tone was filled with urgency. Everyone looked at one another. What's wrong? Is there anything inconvenient about it? I saved your lives just now as well. Seems like this guardian wasn't an idiot, and he knew that saving someone's life was very important. However, he only said it subconsciously. Yi Juetian said helplessly, "We are currently training, and we can't go back right now. So, if you want to go back with us, you can wait until we finish our training." Training in this kind of place? Everyone felt what this guardian meant. He wanted to say that this place is too weak, and there is nothing to train in. To the guardian, this place was indeed weak, and this place was just like bullying little kids in a kindergarten. However, to Yi Juetian and the others, this place wasn't a kindergarten. This place was hell mode, and just now they almost died. Yes, Yi Juetian said awkwardly. Forget it. I will wait for you all then, in case you all die again. Everyone, Juetian said respectfully, that guardian, we are currently training. If it is possible, unless it is a crucial moment, do not take action to help us. It is not good for our training. I understand. Just now, perhaps you all had your own methods. I did an unnecessary move. Everyone, what methods did I have just now? I don't have any methods at all. However, these words, everyone only thought about it in their hearts. How shameful would it be to say it out loud? However, everyone was also puzzled. Why do I feel that this guardian is so strong? That Ren Yao doesn't seem to be this strong. Ren Yao only stomped the guardian's strength into a fried egg. If he were to absorb that strength, he would also be this strong. Chapter 1262. Let's have a good rest here tonight. Yi Juetian said. These monsters had all been scared off by the protectors, so this place should be very safe. With a great god by his side, things were pretty stable indeed. Everyone nodded their heads. Right now, there's still a bit of lingering fear in their hearts. Looking at the black-clothed guardian beside them, everyone felt that this plane was slightly safer. However, in Voidless Empire, no one knew that these people had just met with a life-and-death situation. However, the area outside the Imperial Palace was also bustling with noise and excitement. The people from the 9 prefectures and 5 seas had all teleported over, causing the place to be overcrowded. The streets were filled with people. Right now, Yuhua was currently listening to Kai Yun's report. After all, Kai Yun was in charge of the city's security. Are you saying that those nobles from the 9 provinces and 5 seas are bullying people? Yihua asked faintly, while Dongwang Baiji, who was beside Yihua, was currently peeling grapes for him. Kai Yun said respectfully, although it hasn't reached the level of bullying people now, among those people, they look down on the original residents. Adding on the disparity in strength, this is even more so. Subordinate feels that if this kind of thing were to continue for a long time, I'm afraid. I didn't pursue these people because I was giving Meng Yao face, but they still want a foot after giving me an inch. Truly hateful. Yuhua said coldly. What I hate the most is this kind of people who think that they are infallible. You've only been here for a day, and you're already using your identity to pressure me. Don't you know? Who was in charge here? Who are you? To put it bluntly, they were refugees. There are also some aristocrats of the 9 prefectures and 5 seas who don't obey the arrangements and use their wealth to buy high-end residences. Yihua went into a daze. There's really nothing that can be done about this. With money, one can indeed do whatever one wants. Dongwang Baiji rolled her eyes. Yihua, you have to pay attention to this matter. If this continues for a long period of time, it will definitely not be good. The natives will definitely have complaints. Dongwang Baiji reminded. Yihua thought for a moment, then said faintly, Kai Yun, bring some people to go and suppress them. Capture those who are disobedient and behead them. With that, they will naturally not dare to be impudent anymore. Dongwang Baiji really wanted to poke Yihua's forehead, but since Kai Yun is here, forget it. Yihua, using killing to suppress is the worst choice. Yihua said indifferently, I feel that it's pretty good. Last time, after I killed a few people who opposed me, all of them became well-behaved. Yihua, those are the ones who wanted to rebel against you, and their sins are naturally big. However, these are not. You just need to punish them slightly, and it will be fine. Yihua laughed lightly. Baiji, you are still too young. Even if they don't exist now, it doesn't mean that they won't exist in the future. If we don't suppress them as soon as possible, they wouldn't know how to be grateful. Your honor is right. These people are extremely arrogant, and sooner or later, they will want to stir up trouble. Your honor's actions are very appropriate, Kai said respectfully. Yihua didn't care about Dongwang Baiji's opinion and said to Kai, go and do it. Make the scene a bit bigger and let them know that I, the Supreme Overlord, am not someone to be trifled with. Since they are in my territory, they have to listen to me. If they don't listen to me, they can just scram. Yes, Your Honor. After receiving the order, Kai-Yin immediately went to look for Yi Zizi. Things are going to be fun soon. When Kai-Yin received Luo Ho's application, he took a look. The ones who were arrogant were the aristocrats, at least 10% of them. The others were still relatively obedient. Of course, it wasn't all the nobles, but Kai-Yun felt that there were at least 1,000 or more who were very mischievous. Capture them and behead them. After Kai-Yun left, Dongwang Baiji sighed and said, Yihua, actually, there are other ways to solve this problem. Yihua said faintly, this is the most direct way. Kai-Yun can save a lot of trouble. You women, your hair is long, but your knowledge is short. Don't go to bed tonight then. That isn't up to you to decide. Yihua snorted coldly, angering Dongwang Baiji to the point that she directly went to sleep. Meanwhile, Yihua didn't go to sleep. Right now, he was thinking about the general meeting that he would be having tomorrow morning. This was also the first general meeting that he would be having. Therefore, I have to properly think about the future plans. No, there's still some people who are still training, and it still can't be considered as a general meeting. Forget it then. I will just casually say a few words tomorrow morning and go to sleep. At this moment, inside a luxurious tavern, a few people were sitting at a table and chatting about something. At the side of the table, there were some people who were very powerful. Among the people who were sitting at the table, there was also Meng Li. Other than Meng Li, who was a woman, the others were all men. Looking at their arrogant expressions, one could tell that they were the kind of people who had power and influence in the 9 provinces and 5 seas. Back then, when Meng Yao contacted others, she asked them to come to Voidless Empire. Therefore, other than the people on Meng Yao's side, there were other places as well. The place that exalted goddess Meng Yao recommended is indeed not bad. Look at the environment here. It's several times better than the previous one. The one who spoke was surnamed Liu. The Liu family's influence in Ding province was extraordinary, but Liu Xia realized that this place was better than any city in Ding province. I have a suggestion. How about we develop this place into our own capital? The one who spoke was called Long Yi. His looks were not good, but he was very greedy. He was also a member of the Long family, but Long Chu had died. Right now, only he had the greatest authority, and naturally, he would be able to become the patriarch of the Long family. However, previously, Long Yi was only a small elder, but the others were all dead. There was only Long Yi in the group of elders, so it was only natural. Long family head, this is a good idea. We can call ourselves kings here. Liu Xia was the first to agree with the proposal. After saying that, Liu Xia and Long Yi looked at Meng Li. After all, Meng Li's strength was needed. Meng Li, what do you think of our suggestion? Asked Under Liu in a low voice. Meng Li came back to her senses. What did you two say just now? Meng Li, what I mean is, let us join hands and take down this city. Long Yi said indifferently, as if taking down Wushu Empire was an easy thing to do. What? You two want to take down this place? Meng Li's expression immediately changed. What kind of place is this? It's that emperor's territory, and that emperor even won against the palace master. But these fellows, they don't even know. That's right. Long, he said resolutely. A trace of bloodthirst could be seen in his eyes. This is the first time I'm going to attack since I became the family head, so it's definitely going to be extraordinary. Meng Li said coldly, are you two crazy? Do you know where this place is? Do you know how the 9 provinces and 5 seas disappeared? Do you know who defeated the palace master? Liu Xia said indifferently, Meng Li, we know what you want to say, but those are all rumors. Who knows who defeated who? Could it be that you saw it with your own eyes? Looks like you two are crazy. To actually have ideas on Wushu Empire, let me tell you, it was the emperor of this place who defeated the palace master. Meng Li shouted out gravely. Right now, they finally have a place to stay, and they actually want to monopolize it. They are simply bastards. Chapter 1263. Meng Li shouldn't have let them come here. It was simply a waste. Meng Li, don't make it sound so serious. Long Yi, don't believe in rumors. I only believe in my eyes. The people here are all very weak. I can settle them all in a few minutes. Meng Li, just tell me, do you want to join? Long Yi asked softly. There was a bit of threat in his tone. Even Lu Xia revealed a threatening gaze. Meng Li snorted. It's impossible for me to join. However, just as Meng Li was about to reject, the people standing behind Lu Xia and Long Yi stopped Meng Li. It seemed like she had no choice but to agree. Meng Li, we are after all outsiders. We don't know how long we can live here. What if we get bullied? That's why we should unite now. This is the wisest decision. Lu Chan said softly. This kind of consideration was still reasonable. However, Meng Li wouldn't do that. That was the emperor who won against the palace master. Do you think that I am some newbie? Those who walk different paths cannot make plans together. Goodbye. Meng Li turned around, and a man behind her stopped her with a cold gaze. Long Yi stood up and asked coldly, Meng Li, do you want to go and inform on the emperor? So what if I am? Meng Li shouted coldly. She wasn't afraid at all. If that's the case, then please stay. Long Yi's words carried a deep disdain, and of course, a threatening intent. However, right at this moment, the door was suddenly pushed open. Two big sisters appeared. However, behind them, there were some people lying on the ground. These people were Lu Xia and Long Yi subordinates. Who are you? Lu Chen shouted. Meng Li had naturally seen all of them before. These two people were the emperor's subordinates. Their strength was unknown. However, what was certain was that they should be very, very strong. I heard that you guys are gathering people to rebel, Kai Yin said with a slight smile. Yi Zizi sucked on her lollipop and looked at them with a playful expression. Long Yi laughed lightly. How could there be such a thing? You must have gotten it wrong. Kai Yin, how could I get it wrong? Meng Li, don't you think so? Kai Yin looked towards Meng Yao. Although Meng Yao and Meng Li are related, and Meng Yao even saved Meng Li, if they violated the principle, it would be useless. Even if the Heavenly King were to plead for leniency, it would be useless. Shielding people who are rebelling is not far away from the death penalty. However, Meng Li didn't know that what she said would affect how far she could go in life. To the two of them, they were from the same hometown. However, these two fellows were a little bad. No matter what, they were still fellow villagers. Yes, Meng Li said seriously. Although they were from the same hometown, these two people from the same hometown had already wanted to kill her. Therefore, she didn't want these people from the same hometown. Long Yi and Lu Xia immediately looked at Meng Li with killing intent. Yi Zizi said lightly, Since you have this idea, then you must know the consequences of having this idea. Lower Lu, you kill that one. I'll kill this one with a ponytail. Long Yi shouted coldly. All right. Killing you is as easy as killing chickens. The sixth move of the Lu family's swordplay, natural great path. Dragon raising its head. Long Yi roared. The twos might instantly envelop the entire voidless empire, and everyone could feel their auras. To actually dare to cause trouble in voidless empire, they must have grown the guts of a male leopard. Yi Zizi and Kai Yin looked on, while Meng Li was very nervous. You two, go and make a move. Don't just stand there and not move. Yi Zizi sucked on her lollipop and said, You call me out for such a boring thing. I might as well go and sleep. Boring? Don't you find it fun? I just feel that it is fun. Fun my ass. I'm going back. Yi Zizi held back her words, then disappeared from where she was. Meng Li didn't even know what to say anymore. Kai Yin looked at the two people in front of him while panting with rage. You two are simply too trashy. I originally wanted to make my bestie happy, but in the end, you two are useless. An even more terrifying might was released out from Kai Yin's body. Both Lu Xia and Long Yi felt as if there was a small mountain pressing down on their backs. They were originally still charging in the sky, but now they were immediately pressed down, and their eyeballs were about to pop out. You, just who are you? Lu Xia found it hard to believe. This girl actually defeated me with her aura. How is this possible? Even if it was her aura that was only aimed at me alone. Yet, she was actually able to disperse her aura, and even Long Yi was suppressed. This little girl, isn't she too terrifying? Long Yi was also incomparably shocked in his heart. Is she still a human? This little girl is most likely even more powerful than the family head. Kaiyan said faintly, "You all still don't have the qualifications to know, but you all are going to die soon. Men, bring her away." Yes, Flag Master. Luo Ho brought the yellow armored warrior and walked in, then brought everyone out. Only after Long Yi and Lu Xiao walked out did they discover that all of their people were captured, and the entire street was filled with people kneeling down. Family head, save us. Family head, they said that they want to kill us. Family head, quickly come and save us. Everyone started asking Lu Xia and Long Yi for help. But what was the use? The two of them were already captured. There were still a lot of people who were watching the show in the surroundings, and, of course, there were also people from the 9 provinces and 5 seas that were carrying puzzlement. It's only the first day that I came here. Why did such a thing happen? Isn't that Lu Xia and Long Yi? Why did they get captured? Thinking back to what the two of them did before, everyone seemed to be able to understand. This kind of person's way of thinking is too crazy. The Emperor here definitely wouldn't allow it. But then again, is the Emperor here really that powerful? Exterminating the Palace Master? Meng Li followed behind Kaiyan. Luckily, I didn't act recklessly just now. If not, the one who would be kneeling down would be me. Just how strong is this little girl in front of me? Even Meng Li doesn't know right now. There were more and more people who were watching the show in the surroundings, and all of them were whispering to each other and pointing at each other. Kaiyan coughed lightly, and the scene immediately became quiet. These people, they're trying to rebel. The great emperor gave them food and lodging, yet they actually don't have a heart of gratitude, and even have wild ambitions. This kind of crime is unforgivable. Kaiyan shouted out coldly. Right now, Kaiyan felt that he was very imposing. This is what a flag master should have. Execution ground. Suddenly, someone shouted out from within the crowd. Following this shout, everyone began shouting out. Execution ground. Execution ground. Execution ground. Seems like these natives really don't like them. They're going too far. Lu Xia and Long Yi took a look at each other. What kind of place is this execution ground? Execution ground is the place where Yi Hua killed people last time, and normally, only those who have committed serious crimes would go there. In actuality, Kaiyan was thinking the same way too. Since his honor said that we want to have a big scene, we can only do it at the execution ground. Kaiyan waved his hand, and the scene once again became quiet. Chapter 1264. This kind of sin is unforgivable. Therefore, I grant you all death. Bring all of you to the execution ground. Kaiyan shouted coldly. Following Kaiyan's words, everyone started shouting. These people bullied us too much during the day, and now they still want to rebel. They are too daring. You can't kill us. We are the people of the 9 provinces and 5 seas. You humans from a lower plane of existence are so vicious. You are simply the behavior of barbarians. Family head, save me. I don't want to die. Everyone's power was sealed, and they were no different from ordinary people. They were completely unable to struggle free from the yellow armored warrior's restraints. Luo Ho, come over for a moment. I need you to go and arrange the guillotine. Kaiyan waved his hand and called Luo Ho over, then whispered into his ears. All right, subordinate will go and do it right away. Luo Ho went to do the task with an excited look on his face. Those who didn't know might even think that he went to find his wife. Kaiyan took a deep breath. I should have achieved his honor's expectations. What do you plan to do? Meng Li asked weakly. Behead them one by one. Kaiyan said coldly. To actually have the thought of monopolizing Wushu Empire. They are simply too evil. His honor took them out of kindness. Yet they're all ingrates. I really feel sorry for his honor. After Kai Yin finished speaking, he left, leaving behind Meng Li, who had a stiff face. This Wushu Empire doesn't seem to be an ordinary empire. In the 9 provinces and 5 seas, there were no wars, and at most there would only be small fights. The number of deaths was also not very high. At most, there would only be a few hundred casualties. Thousands, or even tens of thousands of casualties were very rare, and battles like this were even described as big wars by them. Meng Li was stunned for a long time, then hurriedly chased after Kai Yun. After walking through a few streets, Meng Li saw a huge building. Everyone was walking inside with anger on their faces, and they were cursing at those people who don't know what's good for them. Meng Li even saw that a lot of people were looking at her weirdly, as if they were looking at an outsider, with a kind of vigilance and alienation. In the end, Meng Li still walked inside. After entering, Meng Li discovered that this was a place that could seat tens of thousands of people, and there was an empty space in the middle. On the high platform, there was a seat of honor. Presumably, that seat of honor belonged to the emperor. However, the one who was currently standing on top of it was Kai Yun, so of course he was only standing. Today's execution was a little special. A flight of stairs had just been added, and there was a platform at the top of the stairs. At this moment, there was a fat man with a red condom on his head and a silver machete in his hand. The criminals entered the prison one after another, and they lined up neatly behind the stairs. These people had just escaped from calamity, but I didn't expect that. There wasn't that kind of situation where one is bound to have good fortune after surviving a great calamity. This was the rhythm where one would definitely die after surviving a great calamity. The viewing platform was already filled with people. There were people from 9 provinces and 5 seas, and there were also people from the local area. The air was pervaded with the smell of blood. This place, back then, over 10,000 people had been killed. That kind of smell of blood would not dissipate even after a few years. Even the sound of thunder resounded in the sky, adding a terrifying color to the oppressive atmosphere. Some of the criminals had already peed in their pants, and their legs were trembling nonstop. Why did I have to bully others? I am so regretful. If he didn't bully them and got along with them peacefully, how could such a situation happen? That was impossible. At this time, Kai Yun shouted, whether it's an original resident or a new resident, it doesn't matter. He had come to Wushu Empire. You only have one identity, and that is the citizen of Wushu Empire. There is no 9 provinces and 5 seas, or anything else. All those who want to overthrow His Majesty's rule will be beheaded. His Majesty does not wish to see such a thing happening again. Carry out the execution. Kai Yun shouted out coldly, and a cold intent immediately pervaded the surroundings. Meng Li saw that Lu Xia, who was in high spirits just a moment ago, was being escorted onto the stairs, and right now, Lu Xia no longer had a trace of arrogance. His entire person seemed to have aged by tens of years, and his messy hair made people feel that he was very miserable. However, he only had himself to blame. No. Lu Xia was regretting right now. If I had known earlier that the people here were so strong, how would I have dared to stir up trouble? It is precisely because I didn't know that I wanted to stir up trouble. Lu Xia was pressed onto the edge of the stairs and knelt down on the ground, and he lowered his head and looked towards the pit below. Originally, Meng Li was still puzzled about the meaning of digging a pit below the stairs, but right now, she understood that the pit was used to store the head. If it was so savage, kill, kill, kill. The people in the surroundings started shouting, pushing the atmosphere to its climax. Lu Xiao's begging for mercy had already been drowned out by the sounds. The executioner drank a mouthful of wine, then sprayed it onto the blade and aimed it at Lu Xiao's neck. Swish! Lu Xiao's head accurately fell into the pit, and the headless corpse spurted out a large amount of blood. It was a ghastly sight. The people who were shouting to kill just a moment ago immediately quietened down. Afterward, cheers erupted out. Kai Yun was very satisfied with this situation. Look at these spectators. They're about to become savage people just like me. Meng Yao felt very uncomfortable when she saw this kind of scene. In the 9 provinces and 5 seas, this kind of primitive method of solving problems had long been abolished. Not only Meng Li, the other people in the 9 provinces and 5 seas also felt the same way. This is too cruel, right? Looking at the spectators and the surroundings, they were all shouting and cheering. This is something that I am unable to understand. This kind of savage method, there are actually people who are clapping and cheering. This is simply subverting my worldview. Meng Li really couldn't understand. This kind of cruel thing can actually be carried out in such a manner. Even if this is to be carried out, it has to be done secretly. How can it be carried out so openly? This is truly something that I am unable to understand. The heads fell one after another, and the bones of the corpses were pushed to the side one after another, waiting to be carried away. No matter how awesome one was in the past, after coming to Wushu Empire, even if one was a dragon, one would still have to coil up. This is not a joke. This is a lesson learned in blood. Kaiyan looked at the beheading just like that. He felt that this program is not bad, and I have to hold it more often in the future. This also caused the people in the city to become obedient, not daring to infuriate this Lord Kaiyan. However, these were all things that happened in the future. At this very moment, the blood on the ground was already showing signs of forming a small pond, and it was a ghastly sight to behold. The headless corpses at the side were like trash that were thrown around messily. Right now, Meng Li really couldn't understand what kind of flaw does this place have, and why would Meng Yao say that this place is good? This place is so savage, and yet Meng Yao actually said that this place is so good. I completely can't see what's good about this place. What's so good about this place? The smell of blood at the scene was very dense, and it was as if the sky was going to be dyed red, causing people to tremble even though it wasn't cold. When the emperor makes a move, people will definitely die. Chapter 1265. However, compared to the previous time, this time was just child's play. Although there was a change in the technique, the overall atmosphere was still slightly lacking. Therefore, Yihua had to work harder. As time passed, all of the traitors were beheaded, and the ground was practically filled with blood. This truly made people sigh. Kaiyan floated in the sky and said gravely, "This is just a warning. I hope that you all can keep it in mind. Don't forget who gave you all of this. Since you can give it, you can also take it all back. Therefore, I hope that you all understand that living a good life is better than anything else." Right after Kaiyan finished speaking, he disappeared from where he stood, leaving behind a bloody scene. Of course, there were also tens of thousands of people who were astonished. This emperor is truly powerful. It seems like anyone who stands in front of him, he can just kill them with a single move. This kind of aura is truly unstoppable. The crowd gradually left. No one paid attention to the people who died in the pit. In their hearts, those people only had themselves to blame. The emperor had given them enough face, and if they didn't give the emperor face, only an abyss of fear would be waiting for them. The people of the 9 provinces and 5 seas were naturally unable to understand such a method. It was bloody and inhumane. This place was simply like a hell. It had a bright and beautiful appearance, but deep evil was hidden in its heart. Although today's scene wasn't enough to shock the hearts of the people, it wasn't too far off. At the very least, it managed to shock all of the newcomers. After all, those 2 people were brazen. There were also some who were waiting to see what would happen next. However, looking at the current situation, there shouldn't be any hope. Of course, if those people were courting death, they could go and give it a try. Yihua wasn't clear about what happened tonight, but even if he knew, he wouldn't oppose it. After all, sometimes this kind of suppression was needed to be effective. Other methods would only show that you were weak and powerless. The next morning, Yihua woke up very early. Dongwang Baiji, who was beside him, did not have any reaction. Yihua put on his clothes and walked out of the bedroom by himself without waking up Dongwang Baiji. Yihua did not go and look for his subordinates. Instead, he went to look for Gongyu, his pregnant sister-in-law. Since this little brother of his is not at home, I should go and take a look at the situation. Meng Yao is gone, and if even Gongyu is gone, then when this little brother of his returns, it can be imagined. Arriving at Gong Yu's sleeping quarters, Yihua discovered that Gong Yu had woken up very early in the morning and was currently trimming the flowers. Behind her, there were two palace maids who were serving upon her. It was hard to tell whether Gong Yu was happy or sad. She seemed a little calm, but this was normal for a pregnant woman who was waiting. "Your Majesty." Gong Yu immediately noticed Yihua's arrival and walked forward and greeted respectfully. Yihua said faintly, "Get up." "Thank you, Your Majesty." Yihua took a look at Gong Yu's stomach, then asked indifferently, "How was the child recently?" Seems like in Yihua's heart, the child is still more important. After all, the child is the bloodline of Yi family. There shouldn't be anything more important than the child. "Your Majesty, the child condition has been very good during this period of time. There is no need to worry," Gong Yu said softly. It was obvious that she was referring to herself as well. She was the kind of mother who relied on the fact that she had a son. If she didn't have this child, she would probably still be waiting in the dungeon. "It's good that you are fine, lest absolute heaven gets worried," Yihua said in a low voice. On the other hand, Gong Yu was thinking, if I can make absolute heaven worry, I am willing to do anything. Yihua originally wanted to tell Gong Yu about Meng Yao's death, but in the end, he didn't say it. If his younger brother were to return, at least he would know that Meng Yao was still alive and not dead. "Your Majesty, you can be at ease. I will take good care of myself and wait for absolute heaven to return." Gong Yu lightly rubbed her stomach. Right now, her stomach was still not big, but the little life inside her stomach was her child, and of course, it was also her child with Yi Juetian. Her life suddenly became even more perfect. Yihua looked at the slightly raised corner of Gong Yu's mouth and suddenly felt that, right now, this woman is already satisfied. This kind of satisfaction doesn't come from power. It is just a simple feeling of satisfaction. "I will be leaving first. Farewell, Your Majesty." Looking at Yihua leaving her bedroom, Gong Yu let out a light breath. I was really afraid that this temperamental big brother emperor would punish me. If Yihua were to know of this, he would definitely be speechless. When did I become a temperamental person? I am clearly a person who calms down. Towards the meeting that was held in the morning, Yihua placed quite a bit of importance on it. Although the number of people in the meeting was not very full, the things that should be said still had to be said. Right now, everything seems to have been settled, and it is time for me to make a detailed plan for the future. Just what am I going to do? It is making me very confused right now. In the main hall, Yihua wasn't wearing the emperor's robe, and he was dressed in a rather ordinary attire as he sat on the throne. Have all the rebellions that happened yesterday been dealt with? Yihua looked at his subordinates and asked faintly. Today's Yihua was rather noteworthy. Even now, there was still a trace of redness on her face. Looking at Lai Gu, he looks as if he had just lost a battle, and his entire body looked as if he was about to collapse. Meanwhile, Qing Su's expression was filled with a look of success. Seems like I tricked Lai Gu again. Wei Chong and Dou Fushi appear to be a bit downcast, but after knowing that their wives are fine, they became slightly more at ease. As for the others, they are still the same. At this moment, Kai Yun said respectfully, "Reporting to your honor, the rebellions have been eradicated. A total of 2,031 heads were chopped off." Not bad. Kai Yun is already on the right track. Yihua praised Kai Yun. There is no need for me to remind Kai Yun about some things. One must understand the thoughts of a leader and then carry out the tasks accordingly. This is what a good subordinate should be like. Kai Yun was delighted. This is the first time that I have received his honors performance. This is truly exciting, yet also unbelievable. To think that there would actually be such a good thing. I only did an insignificant thing, and yet I was able to receive such a pleasant surprise. After Yihua praised Kai Yun, everyone felt a burst of envy. Meanwhile, Wei Chong was thinking in his heart, when is his honor going to praise me? After all, I am using my life to display the quintessence of the matter. However, Wei Chong was going to be disappointed because his honor didn't talk about this matter at all. After this matter, the focus of our entire team's work seems to have changed a bit. Therefore, I want to come up with a new plan for our future development, and so on. Right now, Yihua was indeed a bit lost. Although I have only been here for a day, living without a direction, what difference is there between me and a salted fish? Tell me, do you all have any good suggestions? Yihua asked faintly. Wei Chong expressed that he was very sad. What about the praise? I, Wei Chong, have already sacrificed so much at this moment. Wei Chong took a step forward and said respectfully, Your Honor, ever since the matter between Qing Su and me. Chapter 1266. When Wei Chong said the word it seemed like he was reminding His Honor. Did he forget to say something? For example, praising Wei Chang's brain. Isn't this a very important thing? Yihua looked towards Wei Chong, and the latter's gaze flickered. That's right, there is still another fortune teller at the back. Things are still not over yet. Yihua suddenly recalled that there is still another fortune teller that I have yet to deal with. Wei Chong, you have been hiding there for so long. Did you manage to obtain any news? Yihua asked faintly. Wei Chong was very depressed. It felt like his quests weren't over yet, so he had to continue completing quests. When all the quests were completed, he would be praised. Such a result was still acceptable. Your Honor, I don't know the whereabouts of that fortune teller. I'm afraid that even the palace master and the others don't know. Wei Chong said respectfully. That fortune teller was indeed very powerful, so he had to strengthen his defenses and not let his guard down. Yihua said faintly, this fortune teller naturally has to be included in the list of plans. Furthermore, this fortune teller is of the utmost importance, so we must definitely pay attention to him. Understood. All the subordinates shouted in unison. Just as Yihua was about to continue expressing his opinion, his younger sister, Yi Yuanqing's voice suddenly rang out in his mind. Brother, I'm in trouble, Yi Yuanqing said unwillingly. He really didn't want to ask his big brother for help, but he had no choice but to do so, because the spirit capital was going to change. All of these people were very strong, and we were completely unable to resist them. These people even claimed to be from the Eastern Emperor clan, the Imperial family. However, now that the Imperial family had changed their surname, the Eastern Royal clan was furious, and the current emperor was actually a woman. Don't you think I'm angry? What happened? Yihua asked gravely. I don't really understand why my little sister is in trouble. This doesn't seem to be right. Those people called Dongwang have occupied the Imperial Palace, and there are a lot of powerful people among them. Yi Yuanqing didn't have any other way to deal with Dongwang. Yihua slightly wrinkled his brows. Why is it the Eastern Emperor clan again? The 9 prefectures and 5 seas had all collapsed. The battle that day seemed to have ignored the Dongwang clan, and it was because they had all died. Did he not die at all? All of them ran to Lingdu? This seemed to be possible. That Dongwang Ji had such an ability, or the entire Dongwang clan should have such an ability. Yuanqing, where's the person that I gave you? Yihua asked gravely. Big brother, they have a lot of experts. The people you gave me have disappeared, Yi Yuanqing said in a low voice. He had thought that with the strength of the 3 of them, his sister would be able to do whatever she wanted. However, he was wrong. Those 3 people were indeed very powerful, but compared to Dongwang Jishang, they were still lacking. Furthermore, the strength of the Eastern Emperor Extreme Shang wasn't just for show. Running into Yihua could only be considered as his misfortune. However, if he ran into someone else, it would be a different story altogether. After hearing his little sister's words, Yihua's expression turned ugly. This Dongwang clan, the Supreme Overlord, I've already spared you all once, and yet, you all actually dare to push your luck yet again. Looks like I'll have to make a trip to Lingdu. My younger sister won't be able to handle this. However, at this moment, Yi Yuanqing, who had been living in the palace, had moved out. It must be said just how fast was the Dongwang clan's speed. They had just arrived at Lingdu, and they had already chased the newly appointed empress down from her position. However, Yi Yuanqing was actually spared by the Dongwang Ji once. This could only mean one thing. As long as one's surname was Yi, a miracle would always appear. Big sister, what did Big Brother say? Yi Chen hurriedly asked. During the family's most crucial moment, only Big Brother was the most reliable. Right now, Father, had already fainted from fright in the toilet, and his entire body was trembling. After all, he had offended the powerful Dongwon clan. Yi Yuanqing said in a low voice, "Big Brother said that he will immediately come over and handle this matter." "That's good. As long as Big Brother is willing to come over and handle this matter, I can be sure that everything will be settled." At this moment, Yizhu was also at ease. "Originally, I thought that I would be able to handle this small matter by myself, but I discovered that that doesn't exist." Father had already fainted from fright. Right now, Yi Yuanqing was still wearing the Empress's royal robe. "This is real. Why didn't the Dongwon Ji kill Yi Yuanqing and these people with the surname Yi? It's all because these people all have the surname Yi. Perhaps it was because their home was destroyed, and it was destroyed by someone with the surname Yi, and they were unable to resist. Right now, as long as they heard someone with the surname Yi, they would subconsciously have the urge to turn around and run away. There was really no other way. For some people, as long as you have seen them, the evil in their bones would be deeply engraved in your heart, and you wouldn't dare to go against them in the slightest. This was especially so for powerful people. For example, the Dongwon Ji had already been frightened to the point that his liver and gallbladder were trembling. Logically speaking, the matter of seizing the throne definitely had to kill these people. However, in the end, they still let them go. Inside the palace, the Dongwon Ji was currently sitting on the throne, looking down at the officials and the higher-ups of the Dongwon clan. Among the officials, Shan Junren was naturally there as well. After all, he was the prime minister. However, this prime minister, as well as the officials, were all standing behind the Dongwon clan. Everyone was trembling with fear. From yesterday until today, too many things that no one could understand had already happened. However, these things that no one could understand actually made people feel that it was reasonable or perhaps normal. The Dongwon Ji was sitting on the throne with a gloomy expression because he didn't sleep well at all last night. The reason why he didn't sleep well was because he was frightened. He was afraid that those people with the surname Yi were related to that man. If they were really related to that man, then this matter would be very troublesome. It was simply the rhythm of death. Even if those people with the surname Yi seized the throne, didn't I still not kill a single person? I'm just afraid that I killed the wrong person. I don't even dare to ask about his background. If this person's background is extraordinary, what should I do? Wouldn't that mean that I'm going to die? I've died once in the past, and I've died quite thoroughly. This time, I really don't want to die again. My previous home is already gone, and this old home is my last piece of land. If even this piece of land is gone, then what is there to stay for? However, there are some things that should still be asked. This concerns the future and future life. Previously, how did those people with the surname Yi sit on the throne? Why didn't you people stop them? The Dongwon Ji asked in a deep voice. However, his heart was beating like a drum. If I hear an answer that I don't want to hear, then what should I do? Chapter 1267. Among the officials, no one dared to answer this question. This was obviously a suicide question, the kind that whoever answered would die. It was commonly known as a scapegoat. What? No one wants to say anything. Dongwon Ji shouted coldly. The atmosphere immediately became tense. However, no matter how nervous they were, no one said anything, as if offending anyone would make them feel uncomfortable. Who has the highest official position? Dongwon Ji shouted angrily, as if he wanted to release all of the fear in his heart. Thus, everyone looked toward Shan Junren. The latter's expression was calm, but in his heart, he was cursing. The higher the official position, the scapegoat? You, tell me, why did such a situation happen? You all are protecting the face of the royal family, yet you let an outsider sit on this chair. What face do you all have left? Shan Junren said respectfully, Old ancestor, this is a long story. To make it short, Dongwon Ji said faintly, that is because of Prince Yi. Prince Yi? What's his full name? Dongwon Ji asked confusedly. Who is this Prince Yi? Why doesn't it feel so good? Shan Junren naturally didn't dare to lie right now. Lying right now was no different from courting death. Yihua. Shan Junrin said in a low voice. He felt that calling Prince Yi by his full name was a bit disrespectful to Prince Yi. However, those two words exploded in Dongwang Ji's mind. Yihua, isn't it that man? Everyone saw the old ancestor's expression instantly change. The speed at which his expression changed was even faster than that of a woman. Furthermore, within that ferocious expression, there was a trace of fear. Why would there be a trace of fear? Everyone was a bit confused. You are right. That tall and handsome Yihua, why does he keep a straight face all day? It's as if everyone owes him money. He's so arrogant. The officials didn't expect that the old ancestor would actually evaluate Prince Yi like this. He simply evaluated the essence of Prince Yi. That's right, Prince Yi is this kind of person. My friend, there's nothing wrong with it. Old ancestor, the person you described should be Prince Yi. Shan Junrin said respectfully. He still didn't understand why. Dongwang Ji was stupefied. Dongwang Fei, who was in the crowd, was also stupefied. Even Dongwang Qingro was stupefied. Can there be such a coincidence? How could he meet this person here? Dongwang Ji was feeling extremely aggrieved in his heart. If it was possible, he didn't want to ask earlier on. But now that he had asked, he didn't want to know. How can the heavens torture people like this? Dongwang Jishang could be seen suddenly standing up. Tell me, where did that empress from yesterday live? Yi Yuanqing is still at home. Yi family. Dongwang Ji instantly disappeared from where he was. That urgent look of his made it seem as if his wife was giving birth at home. He didn't want to be careless. Of course, they couldn't be careless. That was a man who was ferocious to the point of exploding. If he was also a member of the Yi family, he had offended the other party again. He could even topple a home master, and yet he was still talking about himself? When he arrived on the streets of Spirit Capital, Dongwang Ji started to ask the passers-by where the Yi family was. Then, he hurriedly flew over. This matter cannot be sloppy at all. I have to bring that woman, no? I have to bring that empress up to the throne. Let's just pretend that nothing happened yesterday. What do you think? Dongwang Ji came to the entrance of the Yi clan and directly knocked on the door. However, in other places, Dongwang Ji wouldn't do this at all. Whenever he knocked on the door, he would just directly push the door open. However, in this kind of situation, would he dare to knock on the door? He obviously wouldn't dare to knock on the door. After all, everyone here is my ancestor. You all are my ancestor. Very quickly, a servant opened the door. Who is it? The servant, who didn't understand the situation, was very arrogant. After all, the current Yi family was different from the past. If it was in the past, if such an arrogant servant appeared, Dongwang Ji wouldn't pay attention to him. However, there would naturally be someone who would kill him. However, the current situation was different from the past. This little brother, can I trouble you to inform the servant that Dongwang Ji is here to look for me? Dongwang Ji slightly bowed his body and had a fawning look on his face. However, the servant stretched out his hand and waved it, as if you should understand. Dongwang Ji didn't have much experience in the world, and he didn't understand what the servant was doing. Shaking hands was the best face that the servant could give the servant. Are you sick? You don't even understand this. Dongwang Ji suppressed the anger in his heart. This lowly person actually dares to insult me and say that I'm sick. If it's possible, I really want to kill this person. Right now, Dongwang Ji understood. Bringing money was not something that the boss would do. The boss only had treasures on him. Therefore, Dongwang Ji gave the servant a pearl. The servant took a look at the pearl, then shook it and said faintly, "Not bad, go in." "Thank you, little brother." Dongwang Ji thought in his heart. This little brat is truly hard to deal with. The servant sneered. With a single look, I can tell that this is a man who hasn't seen the world before. To actually come to the back door and knock on the door, and even foolishly give me treasures, isn't this person sick? Yi family was actually quite big. Just like Dongwang Ji, in order to find the empress, he didn't speak loudly, and he also didn't ask randomly. Why is it that as long as you ask, all sorts of things and treasures will be given to you, and you will tell them the truth, but in the end, they will still be fake? I have never seen such a scammer. Everyone here is a scammer. Everyone is targeting me, They're simply very bad. Dong Wangji, who was lost, could only find a place to sit down and calm himself down. Don't flatten this place just because I lost my temper. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps rang out. Dong Wangji directly said, "Don't come and ask me for things. I don't have any treasures anymore." Ancestor? Yi Chun cried out in shock. He had seen this person in the royal court yesterday, so he recognized him with a single look. This person even chased me and Big Sister out yesterday. Why is he here again today? Just what is the meaning of this? You are? Why would Dong Wangji care about other people's names? Towards this young man in front of him, he did not have any impression at all. I am Yi Chun. Yi Yuanqing is my big sister. What? You are Yi Chun. For me to see your big sister, quickly. There is an urgent matter. In Yi Chun's eyes, this ancestor was a very decent person. So why is he so impatient and not calm at all? Furthermore, why is he so anxious to find Big Sister? What is going on? However, thinking about the current situation, I can only bring him to see her. There might still be a chance for things to turn around. Yi Chun did not say anything and directly brought Dong Wangji to find Big Sister. Right now, Yi Yuanqing was waiting for his big brother's arrival so that he can take back the throne, so he was clearly a bit impatient. However, at the door, two figures suddenly appeared. This caused Yi Yuanqing to be startled, because one of them was Dong Wangji, this man who chased him off the throne yesterday. Chapter 1268. Big Sister. Before Yi Chun could finish, Dong Wangji rushed forward and bowed. If you were to kneel and slide, the effect would be even better. Yi Yuanqing was dumbfounded. What is going on? This old ancestor of the Dongwang clan is actually bowing to me. What is the meaning of this? I don't understand what is going on. Please follow me, Empress. Dong Wangji bowed with a pious heart. However, when he lowered his head, his gaze was filled with boundless fear. Who would have known that the woman he chased down was actually that man's little sister? This man is so unlucky. Even water will get stuck between his teeth. What are you doing? Yi Yuanqing questioned coldly. This man actually wants me to follow him. How is that possible? Who knows where he is going? Maybe he is looking for a chance to kill me. This is simply unbearable. When Big Brother comes, I will teach him a lesson. Misunderstanding. This is all a misunderstanding. I was immature yesterday. Dongwang Corporation hurriedly said. If I don't lower my head now, when will I do it? Could it be that I have to wait until I die before lowering my head? Yi Yuanqing finally understood. This man actually took the initiative to admit his mistake. Could it be that Big Brother has already come over to greet me? It is very possible. Big Brother is still the best. I've just said, how long has it been? Big Brother has already settled everything properly. Big Brother is amazing. Is it really a misunderstanding? Yi Yuanqing felt that with Big Brother supporting him, he immediately became confident. Dongwang Jishang said in a low voice, "Yes, it's all a misunderstanding. Regarding yesterday's matter, I will do my best to compensate you. Empress, please move to the Imperial Palace. That is where you should be living, and not here." Oh, who was the one who said that I don't have the right to stay there yesterday? Yi Yuanqing teased. Her mood became much better. Dong Wangji knew that this woman was making things difficult for him. But what could he do? This was the only way. It is all my fault. I hope that Empress will not hold it against me. Dong Wangji was filled with grievances. When have I ever been so lowly? Never, never, but today, I'm so lowly that it even reaches my crotch. Yi Yuanqing did not have the interest to continue messing around. That's enough. Big Brother has already arranged everything properly. All right, I understand. You can go back first. No, Your Majesty must enter the palace now. Only then can I be at ease. Dongwang Jishang's heart was thumping like a drum. If this matter were to be known by that demon, it would definitely be hard to clean up the mess. Yi Yuanqing said softly, I still need to make some preparations. I will return to the palace tomorrow. Go back and clean up and put my things back in place. Hearing this, Dongwang Jishang felt as if he had dealt with something unpleasant. It seemed like he had to change it based on his memory, but this required time as well. All right, I understand. Dong Wang Jishang said hurriedly. He turned around and was about to leave, but he suddenly realized that he didn't seem to have asked to leave. If he did, it would seem that he was lacking in manners. He turned back and said, Your Majesty, I just want to go back and make preparations. Go. All right. Dong Wang Ji finally dared to go back and prepare. Seeing Dong Wang Ji leave, Yi Chun asked out of curiosity, Is it because of Big Brother? Yi Yuanqing nodded. Only Big Brother has such ability. Yi Chun agreed and said happily, With Big Brother around, we will be able to bring glory to Yi family. That's right. With just a few of us, it is far from enough. Yi Yuanqing let out a long sigh. This is the most important problem. Big sister, I will go and make arrangements first. All right. Yi Chun cupped his hands, then left. Yi Yuanqing let out a breath, and a trace of a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Right at this moment, a figure appeared in front of Yi Yuanqing. Other than Yi Hua, who else could it be? Big Brother. Yi Yuanqing stood up and said joyfully. Soon after, she pounced in her Big Brother's embrace. I feel so safe. No wonder my sisters-in-law like Big Brother so much. Originally, Yi Hua came here to solve the problem, but his little sister's reaction just now caused him to be a bit stupefied. What is going on? Why is she so happy? Could it be that she is so happy because she saw me, her Big Brother? I, the Supreme Overlord, am very touched. As expected of my little sister. Big Brother, you're the best. Yi Yuanqing said excitedly. He even stood on his tiptoes and kissed his little sister. Don't misunderstand. This is the pure love between brother and sister. Yi Huan naturally knew that as well. He lightly patted onto his little sister's head. Little sister is in trouble. As your Big Brother, I naturally have to come and help you. Sure enough, it is the same as what I thought. Big Brother, you are really amazing. You settled the matter in just a few minutes. Settled? Yi Hua asked confusedly, indicating that he didn't know at all. That's right. Wasn't it Big Brother who settled the matter? Yi Yuanqing asked curiously. Yi Hua was a bit embarrassed, but he still said seriously, Of course, I, as your Big Brother, will definitely settle the matter for you. Hee, you are amazing, Big Brother. Yi Yuanqing gave a thumbs up. Yi Hua was confused. It should be that the Eastern Emperor family knows about me. That's why they took the initiative to apologize to me, right? Other than this, there really isn't any other possibility. Since everything is settled, Big Brother, I will be going back first. All right, Big Brother, take care. When you are free, come and eat at little sister's place. Yi Hua waved his hand. All right, when the time comes, Big Brother will bring your sisters-in-law over. Make sure to prepare more. Don't worry, Big Brother. I will make sure that you are full. Yi Hua smiled and nodded his head, then disappeared from the spot. However, Yi Hua didn't go back home. Instead, he went to look for Dong Wang Ji. This old man shouldn't be dead yet. Just when Dong Wang Ji arrived at the palace, he saw a figure landing beside him. When he took a look, he almost peed in his pants. Brother-in-law. Dong Wang Ji didn't know why he called out this word. But if he didn't call out this word, perhaps someone might die. When Yi Hua heard this word, he slightly went into a daze. After all, being called brother-in-law by an old man, that kind of feeling is rather strange. However, thinking about it now, it doesn't seem right. Dong Wang Baiji is actually his big sister? If that's the case, just how old is the Empress? If that's the case, wouldn't I be at a disadvantage? Other people always say that a woman who is 3 years older will hug a golden brick. But this isn't just 3 years old. There are even women who are 30,000 years old. The Empress is really dishonest. Hiding her age, she is really bad. When I return, I have to properly reason with the Empress. I heard that you chased my little sister off the throne, Yi Hua said coldly. His pair of eyes carried an ice-cold aura, as if as long as you don't say a single word correctly, I will kill you. Chapter 1269. Dong Wang Ji also had the same feeling, and his entire body shivered. Brother-in-law, this is all a misunderstanding. The flood rushed to the Dragon King's temple. A misunderstanding, a misunderstanding. Dong Wangji was so flustered that he started dancing. Misunderstanding. That's right. That's right. I dare to swear to the heavens that this is all a misunderstanding. I didn't intend to harm anyone at all. Dong Wangji patted his chest and said, wishing that he could shatter his own chest to prove himself. Looking at Dong Wangji's attitude, Yihua felt that this situation was still pretty good. If anything were to happen in the future, Dong Wangji would be able to lead the Dongwang family and help his sister. After all, I can't take care of my sister forever. It's fine to prepare another path for my sister. Since you said that this is a misunderstanding, I will believe you for once, Yihua said lightly. Hearing this tone, even Dong Wangji heaved a sigh of relief. This is how a normal tone should be. That tone just now was simply terrifying, as if he wanted to kill me. Thank you, brother-in-law. Thank you, brother-in-law. Dong Wangji hurriedly thanked Yihua and finally heaved a sigh of relief. Yihua said gravely, didn't you guys create a Dongwang family? In the future, continue to do so. Properly assist my sister, understand? I know, I think so too. Dong Wangji felt that he had returned to the time when he was young, and he could casually say those kind of compliments. It is for the best that you have such awareness. Let's leave it at that. Yihua said indifferently, then his body disappeared. Right now, Dong Wangji's back was drenched with sweat. This man can even deal with palace masters. What else can't he deal with? If he wanted to kill me just now, I reckon that he would be able to deal with me with a single slap. This is already the best ending. I am truly fortunate. Very quickly, Yihua returned to his own empire. His subordinates had already been dismissed, and Wei Chong had also released Death Mage and Death Assassin. When Death Mage found out that his woman actually went to train, although he didn't have a scalp, he still felt numb. However, Death Assassin was thinking about how is that Long Out Yin? Is he in any danger? After all, he is still my disciple and that golden-haired little treasure. Yihua had almost forgotten about that matter, and he couldn't even remember who Long Out Yin was. After thinking for a long time, I finally figured it out. So it's that man. I felt that it's a little funny, but I never expected that the Death Assassin would actually be guarding beside Long Out Yin. However, to Yihua, this was just a small matter, and he didn't take it to heart, because there was something more important that needed to be dealt with. Your Honor, something happened. Zhu Tian hurried over and reported the situation. What happened? Yihua was currently eating lunch with Dongwang Baiji, and Zhu Tian suddenly rushed over. For Zhu Tian to be this anxious, Yihua knew that it was definitely a big matter. If it was just a small matter, Zhu Tian would definitely not disturb Dongwang Baiji's meal. Dongwang Baiji slightly raised her head and looked towards Zhu Tian, and her expression gradually became grave. Could it be that among those people, someone is in danger? Or, it's the people who are training, Absolute Heaven said in a deep voice. Yihua tightly wrinkled his brows. Among those people, there was my own younger brother and my subordinates. If something were to really happen to them, it wouldn't be good. Who died? Yihua asked coldly. This caused Dongwang Baiji to become cold as well. Zhu Tian hurriedly explained, Your Honor, madam, it's not that someone died. It's just that there's an extra person. Ah. Yihua and Dongwang Baiji were puzzled. There's an extra person? Who is that person? Yihua asked curiously. There shouldn't be anyone else in that kind of place. Zhu Tian said in a low voice, as if he was talking about a secret. That person, he claims to be a guardian. Zhu Tian said in a light voice, and his tone was filled with astonishment. After all, quite a few of these guardians had already appeared, and right now, there was even one of them living in the imperial palace. When Yihua heard that this guardian had appeared, the frown on his brows became even deeper. These guardians have been appearing one after another since the very beginning, and it was as if they had already agreed on this beforehand. The main point was the strength of these guardians were all extremely formidable. However, what kind of things would a group of such people be protecting? This was what made Yihua curious. However, under this curiosity, Yihua kept feeling that this was not a good thing. This was a kind of intuition, but Yihua never believed in intuition, and he only believed in himself. Your Honor, how should we deal with this guardian? Zhu Tian asked respectfully. He is following little Tian and the others? Yihua picked up his chopsticks, picked up a green bean, and placed it into his mouth to chew. That's right. Let him continue following us then. Yihua also had his own plans. Right now, he had a better feeling towards the person behind the guardian. If it is possible, I really want to meet up with the guardian and have a chat with him. Or perhaps, just what exactly are these guardians protecting, or who are they protecting? I, the Supreme Overlord, hope that it is who it is. If it is something, I, the Supreme Overlord, will be disappointed. Of course, legendary weapons are still very rare, and if it is possible, Yihua also wants to get his hands on one to satisfy his craving. Zhu Tian naturally wouldn't go against his honor's order, and he shouted out respectfully, "Subordinate shall take his leave. I shall not disturb his honor and your wife from enjoying their meal." After speaking, Yi Juetian swallowed his saliva. These dishes seem to be very delicious. Yu is the one who is the best at cooking, and right now, she has gone out to train, causing the amount of food that she gets to eat to plummet. Furthermore, Blood Demon only cooks for his honor, and other people can only eat his honor's food during festivals. It must be said, right now, Blood Demon has obtained his honor's heart with his culinary skills. Compared to strength, Blood Demon is much more powerful. After Zhu Tian left, Yihua placed down his chopsticks, picked up the wine that was beside him, and lightly took a sip. Yihua, just who are these guardians? Why are they appearing one after another? Dongwang Baiji was also very worried. She felt that these guardians were the ones that she needed to be on guard against. As for that palace master, she could just directly ignore him. Yihua took a sip of the wine, then said faintly, "These people are indeed a bit troublesome. The problem is, what are they protecting? After all, none of them are weak. Then, will they be targeting us?" Hearing Yihua's tone, Dongwang Baiji felt as if they wouldn't be able to win the battle. Yihua laughed lightly. "Targeting us? That will only hasten their deaths." Looking at Yihua's relaxed expression again, Dongwang Baiji was slightly infected. Yihua has never been afraid of anyone. That would be for the best. "Yihua, you have to work hard. Don't let your guard down anymore." Yihua smiled as he stroked on Dongwang Baiji's hair. "Rest assured, Your Majesty, I have always been the one who wins the first battle. There is no such thing as me making a mistake." Chapter 1270. Dongwang Baiji remained silent. I'm afraid that Yihua will really make a mistake one day. In a battle between experts, a mistake would mean losing your life. Promise me, in the future, you will treat every battle seriously. Dongwang Baiji held on to Yihua's hand and said worriedly. Yihua nodded his head. "Don't worry, I will promise you this rude request of yours." Dongwang Baiji laughed. "You bastard, I'm talking to you seriously, yet you are acting so frivolous again. When did I become frivolous? Your Majesty, don't slander me." Yihua smiled faintly. "TSK," Dongwang Baiji snorted. Yihua suddenly thought of something and pinched the Empress's cheeks. "Right, Your Majesty, I have something to ask you." What is it?" Dongwang Baiji asked confusedly. "Actually, it's not a big matter. I just want to ask you, how old are you compared to me?" Yihua revealed a teasing smile. Seeing Yihua's smile, Dongwang Baiji immediately knew that this fellow was teasing her again. "Do you want to know?" Dongwang Baiji teased. Sometimes a husband and wife need this kind of atmosphere to improve their relationship. Yihua nodded his head. "I can be your ancestor now." Dongwang Baiji spread out her hands. Yihua's mouth twitched. "I feel that I am at a disadvantage. Are you older than me by tens of thousands of years, or even hundreds of thousands of years?" What do you want?" The Empress placed her hands on her waist. "Is she looking down on me now? I want to have a taste of your ancestor." After speaking, Yihua carried the Empress. Empress Baiji cried out in surprise. "Yihua, it's broad daylight. What does it have to do with me?" "Shameless. Your Majesty, do you think that a shameless man will be able to get a beautiful wife? That's impossible. You are full of twisted logic," Dongwang Baiji said snappily. "Old witch. Who are you calling an old witch?" "You." "Yihua, I'm not done with you. The room immediately filled with the sound of the two scolding each other. Their relationship sure is good. Meanwhile, Long Out Yin's group had already arrived at the Sea of Innocence, where the north and south intersected. Their journey was more daunting than dangerous, and they did not encounter any major incidents. They did not even see any pursuers. However, towards the death assassin's sudden departure, everyone was puzzled. Of course, they were reluctant to part with him. However, they also saw many wondrous sights along the way. Ever since that night, the entire continent had undergone tremendous changes. Some of the ground sank, some of the ground cracked, and some of the ground rose up like a mountain. Along the way, the few of them were amazed. Long Out Yin even felt that it had something to do with that night. Even the disappearance of the death assassin was related to that night. Previously, he'd heard that the Sea of Innocence was a vast expanse of ocean, and that it was a spectacular sight. But now, there wasn't even a single drop of water, and there was only a bottomless abyss below. "So this is the Sea of Innocence," said Long Out Yin in a daze. Lord Jiu frowned slightly as he looked at the bottomless abyss in front of him. However, he could not see the other side at all. Little Treasure sniffed the surroundings and growled from time to time. "Grandpa, Daddy, your son will scout the way for you," Chu Yuxuan said faintly. He seemed really cold and aloof. Lord Jiu and Long Out Yin seemed to have gotten used to being called Chu Yuxuan. Long Out Yin shook his head. "Forget it." Meng Meng hugged Long Yang and let out a light breath. A woman just wanted to find a stable home. However, ever since she came to this world, she never had a stable home. Long Out Yin looked at his wife beside him. He knew what his wife was thinking. She also wanted to find a home and live a peaceful life. But that Wushu Empire, it was said that it was located in the northernmost part of the continent. However, they had only reached the center of the continent. Furthermore, the north didn't have such good weather, and it was extremely cold. "Are we really going to that Wushu Empire? Can't we go to other cities?" Meng Meng asked in a low voice. Actually, Meng Meng didn't really care where they were going. She mainly wanted to settle down. However, Long Out Yin also had his own ideas. He wanted to find a safe place where they didn't have to move around. Long Out Yin hugged onto his wife's shoulder and said in a low voice, "Meng Meng, you can be at ease. There is still quite a distance to go. They all say that Wushu Empire is like heaven on earth, and after we reach there, we will be able to live a good life. We don't have to live this kind of wandering life anymore." Lord Jiu didn't think so, because whenever he heard the word Wushu, he would immediately associate it with Wushu Realm. However, Lord Jiu was also thinking in his heart, it shouldn't be such a coincidence, right? To be able to meet with Wushu Realm in such a place, it doesn't exist. Therefore, I can go and take a look. Lord Jiu rubbed onto Xiao Bao's head, and Xiao Bao wagged his tail happily. To Xiao Bao, as long as there was a place with an owner, that place would be home. Chu Yuxuan could be seen flying straight into the abyss, causing Long Out Yin to cry out in surprise. Lord Jiu held onto his forehead and asked helplessly in a low voice, "Out Yin, what kind of acupuncture technique is that? You still haven't finished researching it." I can give it a try." Meng Meng rolled her eyes at her husband. "It's best if you don't give it a try. Just now, you made others look like a child, then you made others look like a cold person. If you were to poke them again, what would you do if they end up sounding like an old man?" "That's right, Daddy. Big brother Yuxuan is actually quite pitiful. Don't keep poking others." Even Long Yang was pleading for Chu Yuxuan. Right now, Chu Yuxuan has already stopped his acupuncture technique. Don't let him have a bad habit anymore. Long Out Yin let out a long sigh. That acupuncture technique is too difficult. However, what my wife and child said is right. If he were to have a bad habit again, it would be even more troublesome. Right now, this acupuncture technique is still considered to be obedient. Suddenly, Xiao Bao actually barked toward the abyss, and this caused everyone to be on guard. A ferocious aura immediately spread out from the abyss, and everyone immediately retreated. Long Out Yin and Lord Jiu slightly bent their bodies, ready to fight at any moment. Meng Meng carried Long Yang, and stood behind the two. Xiao Bao stood beside Lord Jiu and bared his fangs, and his gaze was also very ferocious. Three figures could be seen rushing out from the abyss, and one of them was naturally Chu Yuxuan. The other two were dressed in armor and looked just like Imperial guards. At the very least, Long Outyin and Lord Jiu could tell that Chu Yuxuan was very strong. However, the fact that these two soldiers were able to suppress Chu Yuxuan left them puzzled. "Who are you people? How dare you intrude into the Sea of Innocence?" One of the Imperial guards shouted coldly. Chu Yuxuan snorted coldly. "Sea of Innocence? Show me a drop of seawater." The two Imperial guards glanced at each other, then shouted angrily, "Audacious! You actually dare to disrespect the Sea of Innocence. You deserve to die." After speaking, the two Imperial guards launched a new round of attacks. Under the pincer attack of the two, Chu Yuxuan seemed to be a bit powerless. The other party was indeed very strong. Chapter 1271. Long Outyin hurriedly shouted, "You've misunderstood. We didn't do it on purpose. We just wanted to cross the Sea of Innocence. We didn't have any other intentions." Following Long Outyin's shout, the two bodyguards slowed down their attacks, allowing Chu Yuxuan to recover. For Chu Yuxuan, these two bodyguards were still very strong. If it was a 1v1, it would be fine. However, fighting two of them would be very disadvantageous for him. The cooperation between the two of them was also flawless. Their battle prowess was doubled. "Why are you crossing the Sea of Innocence? Why are you going north?" One of the guards asked. Jiu Yi shouted, "We're going to the Wushu Empire in the north." "Wushu Empire?" the guard said in a low voice. His expression gave Long Outyin and Jiu Yi a bad feeling. Could it be that there was some conflict between these guards and the Wushu Empire? They didn't have any conflict, but they'd heard of the Wushu Empire. They'd heard that it was a good place, but at the same time, there was a bone dragon there. This bone dragon was said to be the one that hadn't died completely. As for whether or not that was true, they didn't know. "Yes, we're going there to settle down," Long Outyin said. The two guards stopped. Long Outyin hurriedly called Chu Yuxuan back. Chu Yuxuan knew that he wasn't their match, so he quickly returned. However, Jiu Yi's golden retriever was still barking. Jiu Yi patted Xiao Bao's head, but Xiao Bao seemed very stubborn and kept barking at the two guards. "Woof, woof, woof," his barking echoed throughout the abyss. "If you can't fly, you can't cross this place," one of the guards suddenly said. The Sea of Innocence was ridiculously wide. An ordinary flight would take at least a month, and that was the kind of flight that didn't stop. That's why the guard kindly reminded them that they'd probably lose all of their battle energy before even flying for a day. Then, they'd fall to the bottom of the abyss and die. Long Outyin and Jiu Yi naturally knew how to fly, but Meng Meng and Long Yang couldn't, and Xiao Bao couldn't either. Carrying them, they definitely wouldn't be able to fly. "Little brother, is there any other way to cross?" Jiu Yi asked in a pleading tone. "In the past, you could take a boat, but now, there's really no other way. You should just return," the guard said indifferently, then left. After the two guards left, the group didn't say anything. They were all filled with helplessness. "Dad, who are those people just now?" Long Yang asked curiously. In this plane, people could grow up quickly. Long Yang was like this now. Lord Jiu said in a low voice, "These people are probably from Water City." "That's right. I heard that there's a Water City beneath the Sea of Innocence, but I'm afraid it'll have to be renamed." "It won't be called Water City anymore," said Long Outyin helplessly. "Was it really impossible to go there?" "Dad, what's that called?" Long Yang asked curiously. "Little brother, this place should be called Deep Abyss City," Chu Yuxuan said coolly. However, a voice suddenly rang out. "Abyss City, what a nice name." Everyone immediately looked up and saw a figure floating in the air. He was dressed in a luxurious robe, and it was obvious that he was a disciple of a rich family. The person who came was Qi Shuwen. As for why he came, it was because he heard the dog barking. As far as Qi Shuwen knew, there was no such thing as a dog on this continent, so he came over to take a look out of curiosity. This is incredible. It's actually a golden fur. How is it possible for a golden fur to appear here? Long Ao Yin and the others were also sizing him up, feeling very confused. Qi Shu Wen slowly descended. He looked at Long Ao Yin and Meng Meng, then at Lord Jiao, and a look of astonishment immediately appeared in his eyes. "You're Lord Jiao?" Qi Shu Wen cried out in surprise. Back then, Lord Jiao lived a very good life. Lord Jiao's photos were everywhere. Although Qi Shu Wen never interacted with Lord Jiao, he still recognized Lord Jiao. If Xian Ba was here, he would definitely recognize Lord Jiao. After all, Lord Jiao was his superior. However, Lord Jiao didn't recognize Qi Shu Wen. Lord Jiao was also puzzled that the man in front of him knew him. Long Ao Yin was also very shocked. Could it be that this man in front of me is also a transmigrator? Is he the same as me? You are? Lord Jiao asked. Qi Shu Wen smiled. I didn't expect to meet someone from the same hometown. My luck is really good. You all transmigrated here, right? My name is Qi Shu Wen. Qi Shu Wen was very enthusiastic to meet someone from the same hometown. He was an outsider in this world, and he felt a sense of loneliness. Now that he met someone from the same hometown, that sense of familiarity instantly came. You also transmigrated here? My name is Long Ao Yin. This is my wife Meng Meng. My child is Long Yang, and this child is Chu Yuxuan. Long Ao Yin introduced carefully. Qi Shu Wen was very happy and asked curiously, "How long have you all been here? Why did you all come here?" "Sai, we have been here for a period of time. Recently, we were being chased after, and we didn't have a safe place to stay. Thus, we decided to go to Wushu Empire," Lord Jiao said gravely. One had no choice but to lower one's head when under someone else's eaves. This was a plane where strength was respected. Being chased after? Who is chasing after us? Qi Shu Wen said angrily. Chasing after my fellow townsmen. That means that they are going against me. Long Ao Yin said helplessly. It's a power called Broken Meridian Sect. They are very powerful. So it's Broken Meridian Sect. They are indeed very powerful. However, since you all came to my water city, they definitely won't dare to do anything. Qi Shu Wen patted on his chest and guaranteed. You are in Water City? Lord Jiao cried out in surprise. Water City is very powerful. I have heard about it on the way here. Qi Shu Wen also felt a little proud. After all, Lord Jiao was very powerful in the past, but now I am doing even better. After I came over, I appeared in Water City. After working hard without any slack, I can still say a few words in Water City now. Long Ao Yin said with a faint smile. Lord Jiao gave a thumbs up. Youngsters here are truly incredible. As long as they're given the chance, they will be able to soar into the sky. How about following me to Water City? Qi Shu Wen said passionately. He walked in front of Xiao Bao and patted Xiao Bao's head. At first, Xiao Bao was still very resistant, but when he saw Qi Shu Wen's sincere gaze, he no longer resisted. Outyin, how about it? How about we go to Water City first? Lord Jiao came to Long Ao Yin's side and said in a low voice. The current Long Ao Yin was no longer the Long Ao Yin of the past. The person in front of him was, after all, a stranger. When a fellow townsman met a fellow townsman, there would always be a blade on one's back. Ao Yin, Meng Meng called out. In her heart, she didn't want to leave anymore. I heard that Water City is very powerful. If I'm able to live in it, I will definitely be very safe. Long Ao Yin looked at Lord Jiao and his wife, took a deep breath, walked in front of Qi Shu Wen, cupped his hands and said, Then I will have to trouble you. Qi Shu Wen turned his head and looked at Long Ao Yin, patted Long Ao Yin's shoulder and said, Don't worry, Water City will definitely be very safe. The Broken Meridian sect will not dare to come. Chapter 1272. When Meng Meng heard this, she heaved a sigh of relief and said to her son, Yang, we finally have a home. Long Yang was very obedient. Long Ao Yin looked at his wife and child and smiled. Although they didn't go to Wushu Empire, it was still good to come to this Water City. Jiao Yi patted Xiao Bao's head and heaved a sigh of relief. These days of running for their lives, they were exhausted. Sometimes they really wanted to give up. Qi Shu Wen brought everyone to the bottom of the sea of innocence. However, it couldn't be said to be at the bottom of the sea. It was just a city in a dish. Of course, they couldn't see what was below from ashore because it was really very, very deep. Although there was no seawater, the water city was still magnificent. At the very least, when Long Aoyin and Jiu Yi saw the water city, they were shocked. This was simply a combination of ancient and modern times. Dad, Mom, this place is so beautiful. Long Yang liked this city at first glance. He even spread his arms, as if he wanted to hug the entire water city. Yeah, it's really beautiful, Ming Ming murmured, her eyes filled with shock. Long Aoyin and Jiu Yi were the same. To Qi Shu Wen, a strange feeling rose. On Earth, Jiu Yi was stronger than me, but here, Qi Shu Wen, am the awesome one. Fellow townsmen, this is Water City. Qi Shu Wen introduced. His status in Water City had risen. His father-in-law, who didn't approve of him in the past, was now starting to approve of him. Looking at the prosperity of Water City, one couldn't even see the end of it. It's really big. I feel that this should be better than Wushu Empire. This is really an eye-opener. I'm impressed. Jiu Yi cupped his hands. This young man actually did so well after transmigrating here. Well, I forget it. I came here because I was tired of that kind of life. If I wasn't tired of it, I wouldn't have come here. Qi Shu Wen said modestly, "You flatter me. Everyone, please follow me." Long Aoyin saw that there were actually interstellar cannons on the city walls. He was amazed. Just what kind of city was this? After entering the city, Long Aoyin saw the true prosperity of Water City. His eyes brightened. The guards here were really strong. There are 3 big families in Water City. I'm now a member of the Bao family. Hearing Qi Shu Wen's words, everyone instantly understood. It turned out that he was going to marry into his family. After all, his surname was Bao. However, this was also someone else's ability. This was not something that could be obtained through envy. Long Aoyin laughed and said, "Brother Qi's wife must be very beautiful. Ugly woman. I'm just an ugly woman." Qi Shu Wen said modestly, "My wife is Water City's #1 beauty." Of course, everyone knew that Qi Shu Wen was being modest, so they just smiled and said nothing. The Bao family was still so big. Although the eldest son died in the last battle, it still couldn't stop the Bao family's development. Long Aoyin and the others were shocked as well. As expected of one of the top 3 families in Water City, the scale of the family was really shocking. Husband. At this moment, Bao Yu walked over from the front hall with a smile, looking at the person behind her husband. Long Aoyin and the others took a look at Abalone. How is this an ugly woman? She looks so good. She is truly an exceptionally beautiful woman. Sharky, let me introduce you. These are my fellow countrymen. Qi Shu Wen said happily. Abalone seemed to be very hospitable and revealed a light smile. "Hello, everyone. Quickly come to the hall and chat." Seeing that Abalone didn't put on any airs, everyone let out a sigh of relief. Generally speaking, big families would look down on others a bit. However, the people from the Bao family seem to be quite easy to get along with. "Come in, everyone. Sharky will get people to serve tea, prepare the dishes, and also a room." Qi Shu Wen laughed lightly. "All right, everyone, I will take my leave first," Abalone said in a low voice. "Sorry to disturb you all." Jiu Yi revealed a kind smile. This couple is really hospitable. Qi Shu Wen said generously, "What's there to disturb, come? Don't be polite. It isn't easy to live outside." Long Aoyin nodded his head. It was indeed not easy to live outside. Everyone sat in the hall, and the tea was served very quickly. Abalone didn't disturb everyone's chat and went to prepare the dishes personally, causing Long Aoyin and the others to panic. Isn't she being too hospitable? She wouldn't kill us and turn us into barbecued pork buns, right? Everyone, you can stay here in the future. The Bao family has a lot of houses, and you and I are very bored. Qi Shu Wen chuckled and beckoned Little Bao over. Little Bao looked at Lord Gio, and Lord Gio nodded. Only then did Little Bao slowly walk to Qi Shu Wen's side and squat down. Qi Shu Wen gently stroked Xiao Bao's head. A long time ago, he also had the thought of feeding a dog. At that time, he wanted to feed a Samoyed, but he didn't have the time, so he spent all his time cultivating. There was no dog breed here. Now that he saw a golden retriever, he felt a lot of emotions. If you want to say which plane is better, Chi Shu Wen wanted to say that it is still my home that is better, but I was forced to come over. Hearing Chi Shu Wen's suggestion, of course, everyone was embarrassed to agree. Perhaps he was just being polite. There's no need for that. That would be too much trouble for you, Long Outyin quickly said. However, Long Yang pouted and said, Daddy, Mommy, and I like it here. Grandpa, Dad, I like it here too, Chu Yuxuan said. Long Outyin and Lord Jiu felt awkward. Chi Shu Wen looked at everyone and said with a smile, All right, it's decided then. You guys don't have to be so polite anymore. Long Outyin and Lord Jiu looked at each other. Lord Jiu smiled. Then, we'll do as you say. In the future, you don't have to be restrained anymore. In this world, you still have to properly cultivate. Chi Shu Wen said lightly. Ever since the Sea of Innocence lost its seawater, I can no longer absorb draconic energy. I have to think of a way. Long Outyin nodded his head. Indeed, if I were as strong as Death Assassin, I wouldn't have to bring my wife and child and run away. Strength is still very important. However, Lord Jiu didn't think so. Strength is indeed important, but it isn't everything. I just want to bring little Bao along and live out my later years in peace, away from those disputes. However, those disputes always come looking for me, so it's very annoying. That's right. Strength is still the key. Long Outyin said in a low voice. In the future, when everyone cultivates together, we can also compare notes with each other. Chi Shu Wen said with a faint smile, teasing little Bao from time to time. After a long while everyone was chatting, Abalone walked in with a smile on her face. Husband, everyone, it's time to eat. Chi Shu Wen stood up and said with a smile, Everyone, let's go and fill our stomachs and have a good rest. Chapter 1273. Thank you, brother. Long Outyin also felt at ease. Since I did not go to Wushu Empire, this place is also a good choice. Long Outyin and Jiu Yi have settled down in Water City. If I go to Wushu Empire, I should be even more shocked or even sullen. After all, back then, I was still Yi Hua's love rival. I was messed up by Yi Hua. However, if not for Yi Hua, I wouldn't have met the current Meng Meng, and I wouldn't have my son. Therefore, Long Outyin still had to thank Yi Hua for letting him meet such a cute girl. As long as one is willing to work hard, the heavens will see, then give a bit of charity, and then continue to live a bitter life. After all, I have already gotten used to it. Right now, Yi Hua was chatting with Ren Yao, wanting to know more about the Guardians. Ren Yao sat opposite to Yi Hua and seemed a bit restrained, mainly because she was afraid of being beaten up. If I didn't stomp that eye into a poached egg, I wouldn't be so passive. However, even if I didn't, the ending would still be the same. To Yi Zizi, it was just the difference between 1 punch and 2 punches. Ren Yao, how many Guardians do you have in total? In Yi Hua's knowledge, there were a total of 4 Guardians. The first one was that Su Jiao, the second one was that woman called Xing Song that he met in God's realm, and the last one was the one that his little brother met right now. Ren Yao pursed her lips and said softly, Your Honor, I really don't know about this. Then what do you know? Yi Hua knew that Ren Yao wasn't lying to him, that Su Jiao didn't remember anything either. However, speaking of which, why did these Guardians lose their memories all at once? Just what kind of secret is hidden here? I feel that it should be a very big secret. After all, the strength of these Guardians are all very powerful. I only know my name and nickname. Ren Yao said embarrassedly. She knew why Yi Hua came over to ask her. Although Yi Hua knew that this fellow would say that, there was still a bit of hope. Then, don't you have a place that you want to go to? In your subconscious? Yi Hua asked curiously. That Su Jiao seemed to have said that. Ren Yao swallowed her saliva. What does his honor mean by this? Is he chasing me away? Or could it be that he has another purpose? Strange. This is simply too strange. No. Ren Yao chose to stay. The outside world was very dangerous. Who knew if she would meet another group of powerful people? If that happened, she would die and become a prisoner again. It was great to live here. There was food, water, and protection from some big shots. There was no need to worry about anything else. Yihua let out a light sigh. I really came here for nothing. If you have any thoughts, inform me. Understand? Yihua said gravely. Yes, I will, Rin Yao said respectfully. Thoughts? That didn't exist. How could he have such thoughts? Yihua left helplessly. I keep having the feeling that these guardians aren't good people, and it's only because they lost their memories that they became good people. Perhaps he was a very bad person. These 4 guardians, 3 males and 1 female. Are there any other guardians? He was a little frustrated. Returning back to his bedroom, Dongwang Baiji was currently pruning a potted plant in the garden. Yihua felt that recently, the women in the guild, have they become bored to this extent? All of the women in the guild are pruning plants. Yihua, did you manage to get anything out of him? Dongwang Baiji, who was currently pruning, asked lightly. Yihua sat in the pavilion at the side and said indifferently, nope. It's fine if you don't have anything. What will come will come. We just have to be prepared to fight against him. Dongwang Baiji appeared to be very confident and relaxed. I was still very worried a while ago, but for some reason, I am now confident again. Yihua drank a mouthful of the tea that the Empress brewed and said faintly, I like to be in control of everything, and I never do things that I am not confident in. Everything is in control of everything. What else is there to be fun about? Dongwang Baiji, who was seriously pruning, said lightly. This sentence of hers was rather similar to Yihua's imposing manner. After hearing that, Yihua went into a daze. When did you have such a thought? Wasn't it taught by you? Didn't you always say that once you know everything, there wouldn't be any more surprises? Dongwang Baiji said softly. After hearing what Dongwang Baiji said, Yihua suddenly woke up. Recently, I seem to have changed a bit. I don't really like surprises anymore. This is a very serious matter. It is fortunate that Dongwang Baiji reminded me. If not, I would have lost myself. That wouldn't be fun anymore. That's right, surprises. I won't go and investigate, Yihua said with a slight smile. He immediately relaxed, and he felt that the tea had become much more fragrant and sweet. Dongwang Baiji laughed, then turned her head and looked towards Yihua. This is how your honor should be. Magnanimous. Yihua raised up his thumb towards the Empress. As expected of my woman, she is becoming more and more understanding. I wonder what the other 3 are doing right now. Are they accompanying Mother to play outside? Are they really not coming back? Yihua immediately contacted Qing Yutong. Brother-in-law, do you have any instructions for me? Are you missing sister-in-law? Qing Yutong was still the same as before, teasing her brother-in-law. Yihua even heard Qing Yu saying, Yutong, can you speak properly? I can't. When Yihua heard the 2 sisters quarreling, a smile appeared on his face. I haven't heard their voices for a very long time, and I do miss them quite a bit. Where are Mother and Yuqing? Yihua asked curiously. Qing Yutong said, they went to the toilet. Are you 2 still bringing Mother to play outside the country? Yihua asked curiously. These 2 sure are playful, the kind that doesn't even know that they're coming back. Qing Yu said lightly, no, we are currently resting in the service area. Service area? Are you 2 on the highway? That's right, we are bringing Mother to Shirley Art Gallery to play. The scenery there is great. Mother wants to go and have a look. I have never been there before. Yihua pouted his mouth. I have been living in Gaohai City all this time, and I have never left that place before. It is even more impossible for me to go on a vacation. Brother-in-law, you can also come over now. We can go on vacation together. Io, big sister, why did you hit me? Qing Yu said tenderly. Yihua, if you are done with your matters, come and play with us. Actually, Mother also wants you to accompany her. If you are busy, then forget it. Yihua wrinkled his brows. I'm pretty much done with my matters recently. How about I go and play with you too? We haven't really traveled together much. Aya, that's great. Call the Empress over as well. Let's play together. Qing Yutong laughed happily. Qing Yutong also wanted to travel together with Yihua. All right, wait for me for a while. Yihua decided it's good to go and relax. Chapter 1274. After ending the call, Yihua stood up and said, Baiji, let's go and accompany Mother to play for a few days. Yihua merely wanted to go and play for a few days. After all, there were still things that had not been completely settled here. What he was referring to was, of course, the matter regarding the Guardian. Are we heading over right now? Dongwang Baiji asked puzzledly. Yihua nodded his head, and I will accompany my mother for a trip. Is that so? All right then, I'll go and change my clothes. You should go and change too. What we're wearing now is a bit too exaggerated. Dongwang Baiji took a look at the emperor gown that Yihua was wearing and the emperor gown that she was wearing. It is very normal for us to be wearing the emperor gown here, but if we were to go to the other side, it would be very abnormal. Yihua felt that Yihua was right. Such a way of dressing is indeed a bit exaggerated. He put on his black suit, and that familiar feeling came. He felt that he hadn't worn a suit for a long time. As for Dongwang Baiji, she had changed into a blue long skirt, and she looked very fairy-like. Coupled with that absolutely beautiful face of hers, tisk, tsk, tsk. Yihua was unable to describe what he saw. However, in Yihua's eyes, he was already used to it, and he felt that it was nothing much. Is it beautiful? Dongwang Baiji spun one round on the spot. In actuality, Dongwang Baiji was indeed very beautiful, and Dongwang Baiji also wanted Yihua to praise her. Every woman would want to hear such praises, even if they were old couples. Especially Yihua. After so many years, it was very rare for him to praise his wife for being beautiful. Yihua took a look, then said faintly, not bad. Dongwang Baiji, meeting a man who didn't know how to speak was really embarrassing. But then again, only honest men wouldn't say sweet nothings. Scumbags would just run their mouths off. Dongwang Baiji didn't expect Yihua to praise her beauty anymore. Dongwang Baiji let out a deep sigh in her heart. Let's go. Yihua didn't say anything. I feel that the Empress should be having her period, and for her mood to be a bit erratic, I am able to understand. The two of them disappeared on the spot. When they reappeared, they were already in the service area. Of course, they appeared in a place where there was no one. Looking at the service area in front of him and the big goods, Yihua actually had a feeling that he had returned home. Dongwang Baiji also had the same feeling. Everything in front of her is so familiar. From afar, Yihua saw Qingya and the others, and when he saw his mother, Yihua smiled lightly. When Lu Jing saw that her son had come, she also appeared to be very happy. Just now, when she heard her daughter-in-law say that Yihua was coming, she still did not believe it. Now he believed it. Mother. Yihua walked to the front of his mother and called out lightly. Lu Jing held on to Yihua's hand and said with concern, You must have been very busy during this period of time. Have you settled everything? Mother, be at ease. Everything has been settled. Yihua said lightly. Is little Tian okay? No matter how Lu Jing pretended not to know, she was still very worried about her youngest son. Yihua nodded his head. Mother, you can be at ease. Xiao Tian is doing very well right now. And there's one more good news that I want to tell you. Happy occasion? Lu Jing was puzzled. Even Qingya and the others who were beside him were puzzled. Could it be that you found another woman? Qingya immediately looked towards Dongwang Baiji. Qingya seemed to be saying, Why didn't you look after Yihua properly and let him bring a woman home from outside? Dongwang Baiji shook her head, indicating that she was not talking about this matter. In actuality, she knew what Yihua wanted to talk about. Gongyu is pregnant with little Tian's child. Yihua laughed lightly. This should be a happy occasion, right? Sure enough, when Lu Jing heard this news, she instantly revealed a happy expression. Really? Gongyu is pregnant with little Tian's child? That's right. Gongyu is currently resting in the palace. In a few more months, the child will be born. This is great. Little Tian is going to be a father. Lu Jing was very happy. This was the happiest thing that she had ever heard. My eldest son and youngest son both have children. My life can finally be considered to be perfect. Yihua let out a breath and decided to tell them about this matter. There's another bad news. Yihua said gravely. Sure enough, when Yihua said this, Lu Jing, who was extremely happy, just a moment ago became nervous. Qinya and the others couldn't stand Yihua anymore. Can't he just tell us everything in one go? To actually give us good news and bad news at the same time. Did something happen? Lu Jing asked nervously. Yihua said regretfully, Yi died. Sure enough, when everyone heard this news, their expressions immediately became grave. In actuality, Lu Jing quite liked that child, Yi. Yi is kind-hearted and doesn't have any schemes. What happened previously was all a misunderstanding, and Lu Jing was even thinking that if Yi became her daughter-in-law, that would be pretty good too. But now Yi actually died? Qian Yuqing was also very shocked. Wasn't he going through her tribulation just now? After going through her tribulation, Yi became a god. How did she die just like that? Qin Yutong asked confusedly. Brother-in-law, wasn't he very powerful? How did this happen? Yihua didn't explain too much and said in a low voice, she died because she was trying to save someone. Although there wasn't a process, Lu Jing seemed to have understood. Yi is a kind-hearted girl. It is little Tian who let her down. Yihua nodded his head. For this matter, I, the Supreme Overlord, also have an unshirkable responsibility. Don't tell little Tian about this matter. It will be fine as long as we know about it. Yihua warned. Wasn't the reason why little Tian went to train this time for the sake of Yi? If the obsession in little Tian's heart was gone, little Tian wouldn't be able to be happy for the rest of his life. Qinya said disappointedly. However, paper can't wrap up fire. One day, little Tian will know about it as well. Let's talk about it when the time comes. Yihua let out a breath. The trip that was supposed to be a joyous one, along with Yi's death, became a bit dull. Dongwang Baiji wanted to tell Yihua to talk about this matter after the trip. All right, where are you guys planning to go? Dongwang Baiji changed the topic and asked. Qinya knew what Dongwang Baiji meant and said, we are planning to go to Yangshuo County. What are we waiting for then? Let's go. Dongwang Baiji said tenderly as she held on Lu Jing's arm. Lu Jing let out a light sigh and sat on the alfaro that was at the side. Yihua saw that the people around him actually took out their phones and started taking pictures. It can't be helped. Who asked these women to be so beautiful? It would be a pity if I don't take care of them. However, when everyone saw Yihua sitting on the alfaro, they all felt that it was a pity. There's so many beautiful women here, and yet a man actually got on top of them. The heavens really don't have eyes. This is truly heartache. Qin Yutong drove the car. At this moment, Lu Jing said in a low voice, after we finish here, I will go back and take care of Gongyu. After all, I'm pregnant right now. Yihua went into a daze for a moment, then said, Mother, there's someone taking care of Gongyu. How can that person be taken care of by me? Mother, I am also worried. If something happens to little Tian's child. Lu Jing was incomparably worried. Yi is already gone. I have to properly take care of this child. Chapter 1275. After hearing that, Yihua didn't say anything. I know what my mother means. I'll just let my mother go. Qinya asked curiously, Yihua, what exactly happened when we were not around? It's a bit troublesome. I'll tell you when I go to the hotel tonight. Yihua said lightly. He didn't want his mother to worry about him. After all, the current crisis has not been completely eliminated yet. After hearing that, Qinya became heavy. For Yihua to say that it's troublesome, it should be a big problem. After arriving at the hotel, Lu Jing needed to rest for a bit. And when the four women arrived at Yihua's room, Qinya and the others wanted to hear what exactly happened. Yihua, what exactly happened? Qinya sat at the bedside and lightly held onto Yihua's hand. She felt that Yihua seemed to be very tired. Yihua told the three women about what happened, and the three women went into a daze. So many things happened during these few days. Fortunately, all of Yihua's subordinates have gathered together, and this can be counted as a good news. However, why does Qinya feel that Yi's death seems to be caused by the fight between Yihua and that palace master? The fight between the two actually destroyed the entire plane. Just how terrifying is that? Wei Chong still has such a brain. Not bad. He deceived all of us. Qinya sighed. After hearing that, Yihua smiled helplessly. That's right. This Wei Chong is indeed ruthless this time. He deceived all of us. Qian Yuqing asked gravely. Yihua, just who is that fortune teller to actually be able to predict the ending thousands of years ago? He might just be making things up. Qing Yutong felt that Yihua was just a scammer. Qingya immediately knocked on her head. Then why don't you make something up for Big Sister to see? Qing Yutong pouted her mouth and said petulantly, Big Sister, I'm so stupid. It's all because you knocked on my head. As for what this fortune teller is, we might find out in the future. Yihua said faintly, this should be counted as a surprise. I wonder if it will be a scare or not. Dongwang Baiji said in a low voice, right now, the main problem is still with the Guardian. Qingya nodded her head. This matter cannot be looked down upon. Yihua stood up and walked to the balcony at the side. Looking at the mountain outside, he said faintly, let's talk about these things after we return. We came out this time to relax. Qingya hugged Yihua from behind and said tenderly, let's face this together when we return. Yihua held on to Qingya's small hand, and a trace of a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Next, Yihua listened to Qingya and the others talk about the interesting things that happened during the past few days. 1 hour later, Yihua prepared to bring his whole family to Shirley Art Gallery to play. However, he heard from the tour guide that it would be better to rent a scooter. That way, it would be more convenient. Yihua had never ridden an electric scooter before, so he felt that he could give a try. 3 electric scooters were just nice. However, the problem was that all 4 of his wives wanted to sit behind Yihua. At this time, Qingya displayed magnanimity and gave the opportunity to the other 3. However, a problem came. Yihua actually doesn't know how to ride on 2 wheels. This caused Qing Yutong to laugh out loud, and even Lu Jing laughed out loud. So it turns out that there are still things that Yihua doesn't know how to do. Yihua was very embarrassed. A dignified supreme overlord, an existence that would destroy an entire plane at the slightest provocation, actually doesn't know how to ride an electric scooter. After trying a few times, Yihua felt that it was better to give up. But now the problem was, who was Yihua going to sit behind? Qingya was still Qing Yutong, was still the Empress. Qian Yuqing doesn't know how to ride an electric scooter either. Looking at the 3 women, in the end, Yihua still chose to sit behind his sister-in-law. Qing Yutong was very happy, and she even provoked her big sister and the Empress a bit. This caused Qingya and Dongwang Baiji to gnash their teeth in anger. This Qing Yutong, just you wait. Lu Jing looked at her son and daughter-in-law quarreling with each other and felt very happy. After choosing, Qingya took out her phone and navigated to Shirley Art Gallery. I heard that that place is rather fun, and there are even delicious free-range chickens. Of course, whether or not it is free-range chickens, I don't know. This was the first time that Yihua rode on this kind of transportation tool, and it seemed a bit special, especially when other men saw him. Their eyes seemed to be saying, to actually let a woman ride on you, you're simply not a man at all. Furthermore, it is such a beautiful woman. This is truly making one feel despair. There are also a lot of beautiful women at the side. Is this a concentration camp for beautiful women? They're definitely not together. Switch. Yihua had already hugged enough and decided to switch to another hug. The surrounding men saw Yihua coming down from the carriage, then riding on another woman and hugging onto another woman. She felt like killing someone. This shameless man was actually taking turns to hug her. He was simply goddamn. Let's go and eat first, Lu Jing said lightly. Yihua felt that it was fine. Let's go and eat first, then play. I heard that there are even hot air balloons and the like here. Although I am flying every day, hot air balloons are also quite romantic. Yihua decided to bring his wife to try it out later on. If not, people will always say that I, the Supreme Overlord, don't know how to be romantic. These women's requirements are simply too high. After walking into a shop that had a lot of people at the roadside, before they even entered the shop, an auntie ran over. Handsome guy, beautiful girl, have you bought the tickets yet? I have cheap tickets here. Does Yihua look like someone who lacks money? That doesn't exist. However, the auntie was a bit persistent as she chased after Yihua and said, The tickets for this hot air balloon are the lowest in the entire venue, 80 yuan per person. Bring the lady up to experience it. There are also helicopters and so on. Do you need me to say it a second time? Yi Hua's temper immediately flared up, and his gaze turned cold. The Annie could feel that Yi Hua's gaze was not good, and immediately ran away. Under normal circumstances, Yi Hua wouldn't act like this, but he was a bit annoyed in his heart, and thus, he wasn't able to control himself. Yi Hua, that's enough. It's not easy for others. Just talk nicely. Lu Jing said in a low voice. Yi Hua didn't say anything and nodded his head. Mother's words are still useful. If it was Qingya's words, then I would have directly ignored it. This was the difference between a mother and a wife. Boss, do you want to eat something? A big sister ran over and asked with a smile. Do you have any signature dishes here? Yi Hua asked faintly while holding onto the menu. We have beer fish here. All of them are local fish. We also have lotus leaf chicken, bamboo tube chicken, etc. What do you want to order? Yi Hua was too lazy to look at the menu and said faintly, Give me a bit of all of them. This caused the lady boss to be a bit stupefied. How much is a bit? What if I give too much and I'm not satisfied? Qingya took over the menu and said with a slight smile, Give me a serving of all of these signature dishes. The fish must have no bones. All right, please wait for a moment. The lady boss immediately went to prepare the dishes. Seeing that Yi Hua's expression wasn't very good, Qingya said tenderly, Yi Hua, since you're already out to play, just be happy. Yi Hua took out a stick of cigarette and lit it up, then said faintly, I understand. Chapter 1276. After taking out a stick of cigarette and lighting it up, Yi Hua leaned against the chair. His gaze was still a bit grave, not knowing why. I keep thinking about the curse of the Palace Master. However, upon thinking about the curse of the Palace Master, Yi Hua wished that he could scold himself. The curse of a defeated opponent. Why should I be afraid? Thinking about it, Yi Hua wasn't concerned about the curse of the Palace Master. Rather, he was concerned about the person who placed the curse on the Palace Master. After all, tens of thousands of years ago, the Palace Master knew that he was going to die and said those words before he died. Is it true or false? Is that fortune teller that awesome? Or could it be he is just bluffing? This made me a bit vexed. Originally, I wanted to use this trip to relax and not think about this problem, but I discovered that I am basically unable to get rid of this problem. Yi Hua, why is your expression so strange? Qian Yuqing asked worriedly. She discovered that Yi Hua's expression was a bit strange. Yi Hua shook his head, expressing that he is fine. How can I possibly be scared? That is something impossible. Lu Jing suddenly asked. Yi Hua, are you afraid of something? Along with Lu Jing's words, everyone went into a daze. In the eyes of Qingya and the others, would Yi Hua be afraid? Yi Hua is that kind of fellow who is not afraid of anything. The word afraid doesn't exist in his heart at all. Thus, they didn't think that Yi Hua was afraid. However, Yi Hua suddenly came to a realization. I am actually afraid. Yi Hua's breathing became a bit hurried. Why would I have such an emotion? I have felt afraid in the past, but that kind of fear was because I was afraid of losing them. The quarrel at the beginning was very vexing. But what am I afraid of? Am I afraid of death? Yi Hua wasn't afraid of death. When a person has someone to rely on, they wouldn't dare to easily die. Yi Hua was afraid of what would happen to his mother after he died, what would happen to Qingya and the others, what would happen to his children, and what would happen to his subordinates. However, Yi Hua didn't know what was going on in his mind and was currently thinking about his own emotions. I feel that I'm losing face. I'm actually afraid. What the hell? The dishes are here, boss. Enjoy slowly. The passionate lady boss could be seen serving the dishes. Qing Yutong obediently placed the bowls and chopsticks on the table. Yi Hua let out a sigh of relief and hurriedly threw away that feeling of fear. Afterward, I thought to myself, that doesn't exist. It's impossible for me to be afraid. Who else in this world can defeat me? This beer fish is not bad. Yi Hua, try it. Lu Jing picked up a piece of fish and passed it to her son. Yi Hua squeezed out a smile, a very ugly smile. Qinya and the others could clearly feel the change in Yihua, and they thought to themselves, this fellow, he can't be really afraid, right? Yihua noticed Qinya's gaze and immediately glared at her. What is she thinking about? I, the Supreme Overlord, am not afraid. However, this beer fish is really not bad, and it doesn't have any bones, and it melts upon entering the mouth. Qing Yutong tore off a chicken drumstick and gave it to Yihua. Brother-in-law, this lotus leaf chicken is rather fragrant too. Dongwang Baiji nodded her head. I have to let Blood Demon learn it. This beer fish soup mixed with rice is pretty good. Yihua, you should give it a try as well, it's really not bad. After speaking, Dongwang Baiji scooped some rice for Yihua, and she even poured some fish soup into the bowl and began stirring it. Yihua took the rice that the Empress personally mixed with rice and tasted it. The taste is indeed not bad. Just now, I was still thinking of not eating it. In the end, scoop more rice for me. Yihua felt that the rice was really fragrant. After eating and drinking to his heart's content, Yihua prepared to go and sit on a hot air balloon, ride on an electric scooter, and enjoy the cool breeze. It feels pretty good. Suddenly, a stench entered Yihua's nose, and even the body fragrance that was coming from his sister-in-law's body was unable to cover up the stench. Where did you two run to? Yihua, who was originally leaning on his sister-in-law's back, was about to fall asleep. This is a shortcut. This place seems to be a place for riding horses. This place is filled with horse dung. Qing Yutong held her breath. This place is so smelly. Yihua was also speechless. Why did you two want to take a shortcut? So boring. Yihua immediately used Qing Yutong's clothes to cover his nose. This place smells so much better. Qing Yutong was also speechless, this brother-in-law. Only Yihua would be able to do such a thing. If another man were to try this, he would have long been scolded by his wife. The bumpiness of the road also began, and Yihua felt that he was going to vomit. Is this a vacation, or is this a torture? I, the Supreme Overlord, really want to flatten this place to the ground. That way, the road wouldn't be so steep anymore. This electric scooter also doesn't have a good shockproof. It is shaking to the point that I'm going to vomit after lunch. After quite a while, the hot air balloon finally arrived, and there was even a glider at the side. Rumbling sounds could be heard coming from the air. Yihua stood at the side, and his face was a bit pale. A dignified Supreme Overlord actually ended up like this because of an electric scooter. The main thing is that I ate too much, and that fish was basically eaten by Yihua. I will go and buy the tickets. Qian Yuqing smiled slightly, then ran to buy the tickets. After that, everyone walked into the venue. The problem came again. To actually make me, the Supreme Overlord, queue up. When did I, the Supreme Overlord, ever queue up? Recently, my temper hasn't been good. It's best if you don't make me queue up. If not, I will make you, this hot air balloon, explode. Yihua, sit down. I will give you a massage. Qinya said tenderly. She knew that Yihua was currently very angry, so she planned to use tenderness to let Yihua cool down. Yihua sat down helplessly and accepted Qing Ya's kind intentions. Qian Yuqing, who was at the side, even placed Yihua's legs onto her body and lightly massaged them. This kind of treatment made everyone at the side stupefied. Is this even possible? Lowering his head and looking at his body. Why is the difference between my legs and my girlfriend's legs so big? After waiting for around 40 minutes, Yihua brought along his mother and wife and walked into the venue. Afterward, Qinya and the others sat on the hot air balloon. Qinya and the others, on the other hand, were very happy. However, after ascending for less than a minute, Yihua felt that he was descending, and he immediately became unhappy. I have waited for 40 minutes painstakingly down there, yet you just let me stand here for 1 minute. Seeing that Yihua was about to flip out, the wives could only comfort Yihua. How big is this matter? Yihua is getting more and more calculative. Yihua rubbed his forehead, then walked down from the hot air balloon and said gravely, "In the future, don't let me sit on this thing, trash." Lu Jing smiled helplessly after hearing this, and the other wives also shook their heads. His temper was really bad. Other than them, who else could stand it? Originally, Yihua still wanted to go and experience the glider that was at the side, but after thinking about it, if I wait for half an hour and stroll around on the glider for a few minutes, wouldn't I be making a huge loss? Isn't it great for me to fly up there and take a look? I don't even need to queue up. Let's go. Let's go and take a look at the other things. Yihua said gravely and directly sat behind the Empress. Because the car was rather short and Yihua was rather tall, Yihua's sitting posture was rather funny. Chapter 1277. Afterward, everyone went to visit all of 10 Miles Art Gallery scenic spots, other than the ones that were queuing up. Yihua would turn around whenever he saw them. Qinya and the others blushed with shame. I might as well not come. This is truly vexing. Luckily, it wasn't the peak season for tourists. Most of them didn't need to queue up. However, Yihua discovered that, other than looking and looking, even after entering the car's cave twice, the feeling was still exactly the same. And his mother and wife were actually enjoying themselves to the point that they even let me come and take a picture. Forget about taking a picture, but after taking a picture, they even said that my technique is really not that good. I just wanted to say that. If you have the ability, then turn off the beauty filter. Don't think that I didn't see it. Let's go to the West Street to eat. Yihua said gravely. Compared to looking, Yihua wanted to eat something more interesting. Qinya smiled and said, Yihua, you haven't tried the river snail rice noodles here, right? What is river snail rice noodles? Yihua asked puzzledly. This was the first time he heard of it. Qing Yutong laughed. Brother-in-law, you will know after you try it. Yihua nodded his head. Since it was recommended by them, it shouldn't be too bad. After arriving at the West Street, it was already 7 p.m. Yihua looked at the crowd in front of him and suddenly thought of a movie that he watched a few years ago. Maybe Slayer Tyrant is a good person. If he disappeared, how good would that be? I suddenly don't want to go anymore. Yihua, let's go and print some clothes. Before Yihua could even react, Dongwang Baiji pulled Yihua and ran to the 3D printing shop at the side. Seeing the shop owner's enthusiastic recommendation, Qinya and the others immediately fell for it. Yihua really wanted to knock their heads. What fun is there in this? In the end, he still couldn't change his mother's mind and got a family photo printed on the shop. And all of them were changed originally. Yihua was wearing a shirt, but now it became a short-sleeved shirt. Yihua didn't like this kind of feeling. It made me seem as if I wasn't calm enough. Looking at the surrounding ladies, the way they look at me is all weird. They're all too daring. How is my body something that you all can look up to? Handsome, let's take a picture together. Without waiting for Yihua to react, a lady at the side left. A few black lines appeared on Yihua's forehead. These women actually plagiarized my appearance without my consent. Who knew if these women would come out in the middle of the night with a photo of themselves and do something that would make people's hair stand on end? Just thinking about it makes me a little dizzy. All right, don't be angry anymore. It's just a small matter. We aren't even jealous. Qinya laughed tenderly. Other people don't even have the time to laugh, and Yihua is actually still angry. When did I get angry? Don't talk nonsense. Okay. You're not angry. Let's go eat some noodles. Yihua nodded his head and decided to go and have a taste. After quite a while, Yihua looked at the bowl of river snail rice noodles in front of him, and a strange stench was being emitted out from it. Yihua's brows were already wrinkled very deeply. Lu Jing covered her mouth and chuckled. It was obvious that this was a prank. Yihua said gravely, Qinya, is this the delicacy that you were talking about? Yihua, this is the same principle as stinky tofu. Why don't you try it? It is actually very fragrant. Qinya laughed while covering her mouth. Yihua didn't believe that the stench of stinky tofu was different from this. This stinky tofu smelled just like sh**. I don't have any appetite anymore. Yihua said gravely, then directly walked out of the restaurant. It doesn't matter whose face is anymore. Qinya was prepared to chase after Yihua, but Lu Jing stopped her. Let him walk by himself. Lu Jing said in a low voice. Yihua needed to be alone to calm down. Yihua indeed needed to be alone to calm down. My mind is a bit messy. I really want to find someone to talk to, but if I talk to my wife, it makes me seem like I am very weak. If I talk to my subordinates, it makes me, the boss, look like I am very weak. If I talk to my children, Where would I, the supreme overlord, as a father, have any face left? Handsome guy, our bar is having a discount today, and there is even a famous DJ. A sexy lady said towards Yihua. Her eyes were filled with admiration. Such a handsome man. Yihua turned his head and looked towards the bar at the side. The bar was very noisy. Yihua didn't like this kind of bar. Yihua liked a quiet bar. Under the lady's deathly gaze, Yihua walked away. Yihua, who was walking within the crowd, was still so eye-catching. Along the way, there were a lot of ladies who tried to strike up a conversation with him, but Yihua just had a scowl on his face, not giving any face to anyone. Fortune-telling. Suddenly, a voice made Yihua stop his footsteps and look towards an old man who was at a corner at the side. The old man's face was yellow and wrinkled. Wearing sunglasses in the middle of the night, not placing a signboard beside him, and not even having a book. Truly incompetent. I have never believed in scammers like you. If I were to believe in scammers like you, then I would be an idiot. Handsome guy, isn't this fortune-telling? Yihua stopped his footsteps once again, then looked towards the fortune-teller and said coldly, Are you able to tell my fortune? Of course. Yihua didn't like arrogant people. Thus, he decided to properly teach this scammer a lesson. Tell me then. Tell me about my troubles. Yihua sat on a small stool opposite of the fortune-teller. A trace of a smile appeared on the corner of the fortune-teller's mouth. Handsome guy, you are afraid in your heart. Hearing that, Yihua's face sunk. Who are you? Seems like my fortune-telling is correct. The fortune-teller muttered. Yihua stretched out his hand and waved it in front of the fortune-teller's eyes. Handsome guy, my eyes are blind, but my heart is not blind. Yihua didn't say anything and continued asking, Do you think that I will die? All living beings in the world will die one day. No matter who it is, they will not be able to escape from the cycle of reincarnation. Didn't you die once already? Yihua's expression stiffened. Then killing intent emerged from his body. He stretched out his hand and tried to grab the fortune-teller. However, what he grabbed was the air. Yihua, we will meet again. You often give people choices. When the time comes, I will also give you a choice. After finished speaking, the fortune-teller disappeared. Yihua shook his head. I am actually sitting at the entrance of shop. Just now, I was too careless. This damned fortune-teller. He actually entered when I was feeling guilty and uneasy, and he actually dares to boast shamelessly and let me choose. Only a child would make a choice. Yihua took a deep breath, took a look at the bar at the side, then walked into the bar. Perhaps only a sound that is a bit more stimulating would be able to make me sober up. Tonight's bill will be paid by young Master Yi. Following the DJ's shout, the crowd applauded. Yihua looked at the crowd silently, then shouted out, Wife, come over and pay the bill. Chinya, I'm acting cool outside, and in the end, I still have to let my wife pay the bill. Chapter 1278. Knowing that Yihua wasn't in a good mood, the wives were magnanimous and personally accompanied Yihua to play with him. Yihua felt that it was quite effective for me to pretend to be depressed. Needless to say, what a sensible wife, not bad, not bad. I, the supreme overlord, am very gratified right now. In the next few days, Yihua went to visit Lu Sanjia. I feel that Lu Sanjia's place is pretty good, just that there are a lot of people in Lu Sanjia's place. Luckily, I booked the best ticket. I can sit at the top and watch the show. Not bad. Not bad, of course, there was also the bamboo raft. Although all of the bamboo rafts are automatic right now and are no longer manually operated like in the past, but the mountain that is at the side looks pretty good. Feeling the breeze and leaning on my fragrant wife. This is the life of an immortal. This kind of life passed quickly. Lu Jing had originally planned to stay here for a long time, but Gong Yu was pregnant and he wanted to go back to take care of her. Yihua could also tell that his mother wasn't in the mood to travel. After playing for 4 days, everyone returned to Wushu Empire. As soon as Lu Jing returned to the palace, she went to see Gong Yu, and so did Qingya. The treatment of pregnant women was indeed different. Gong Yu didn't expect that after she was pregnant, even her mother would be so attentive. She felt grateful for her mother. Yihua, on the other hand, was planning to move on to the next step of his plan, which was to complete the unfinished legendary weapon plan. Previously, because of what happened to his subordinates, he had stopped working on it. Now it had to be reopened. After all, the days were a bit boring. In actuality, Yihua also wanted to give himself a guarantee. That fortune teller's strength doesn't seem to be weak to the extent that he was able to run away from me. Although at that time, the fortune teller was only an afterimage, but at least the fortune teller was not discovered by me. Seems like this fortune teller is hiding in a corner, observing the main body. But so what? I still don't dare to show my face. This lousy fellow only knows how to hide in a corner and draw circles to curse me. What other abilities does he have? If he really had the ability, he would have already come out to fight me to the death. And you still dare to say that you want me to choose. Choose your sister. I, the Supreme Overlord, will only let others choose. I will never make my own choice. In order to obtain the detailed construction data, Yihua even made a trip to the God's realm to look for the current emperor of the demonic city. Jing Tian didn't expect that this man would appear again, and he was still afraid of Yihua. However, after hearing the reason why Yihua came, he still let out a breath of relief. However, Jing Tian did not dare to hide the details of the legendary weapon's creation and told him all the details. He even said that he would gift his parting fire to Yihua. However, Yihua rejected it fiercely. Are you looking down on me? Do you think that I, the Supreme Overlord, am unable to forge a legendary weapon? You are truly thinking too much. I want to create an existence that is even more powerful than a legendary weapon. Yihua had stayed in Demonic City for at least a month, and he had absorbed a lot of experience in forging legendary weapons. He just had to go back and operate it. However, the problem was that the materials had not been found yet. All of his subordinates had been sent out to search for the materials. The progress was still very slow, and it would take at least 10 years to complete. Yihua stood in front of the palace and looked at the sky above Wushu Empire with a slightly worried look on his face. Being invincible is truly lonely. He missed the days of the little skeleton and how dangerous those days were. What are you thinking about? Qian Yuqing hugged onto Yihua's back and lightly leaned onto Yihua's tiger back. Yihua looked at the night sky and said faintly, "Sometimes I feel that it's really boring. Why do you suddenly have such a thought?" "Feel it," Qian Yuqing said tenderly. "Yihua, back then, Qinya brought me to your bar, and she even said that from now on, we will be staying in the bar." That's right, the bar is indeed a quiet place, and there are a lot of memories in there. Compared to the past, the memories in the bar are even more profound. Qian Yuqing lightly rubbed onto Yihua's back. "Then from now on, we will be staying there, and I will peel crayfish for you." "And? Did Qinya tell you that?" Yihua laughed lightly. Peeling crayfish had now become a joke that they would only see every day. And Qinya and Baiji also talked about a lot of things. "I feel that it would be great if I was also there during those few years. I have missed out on too much," Qian Yuqing said gloomily while pouting her small mouth. Yihua turned around and lightly hugged onto Qian Yuqing. "In the future, you will not miss out on those things anymore. You're the one who said it. If you go back on your words, I will teach you a lesson." Yihua pinched onto Qian Yuqing's cheeks. "Let's go. The party has just begun." Today was Chinese New Year's Eve, and Yihua gathered all of his subordinates. Of course, other than those who were out for training, none of them were present. This was already a tradition. On Chinese New Year's Eve, everyone would have a reunion dinner together, and then have fun, celebrate, and be happy. "Your Honor, you went to the toilet for so long. Could it be that you want to play with your wife?" Lai Gu seemed to have already drunk a lot, and his mouth was starting to talk nonsense. As Yihua's mount, only Lai Gu would dare to tease Yihua like this. Under this kind of atmosphere, Yihua didn't really mind. He hugged onto Qian Yuqing, who was beside him, and said with a smile, "That's right, I am very happy." After finished speaking, Yihua even kissed onto Qian Yuqing, who was blushing. It was very clear that Qian Yuqing still wasn't used to this kind of environment, but Qinya and the others were already used to it. Blood Demon, who was acting as the cameraman, was currently recording everyone's happiness. Your Honor, how about singing a song for us? Lai Gu had a lot of ideas, and he had never heard his honor sing in the past. At this moment, Pig Liver Ding Long also suggested, how about letting his honor sing a song with your wife? All right, this suggestion is not bad. All of Lai Gu's subordinates began cheering. Yihua gave Lai Gu a doom-eyes. Brat, just you wait. Yihua wasn't someone who would spoil the mood. Isn't it just singing? If I, the Supreme Overlord, were to sing, I would definitely shock everyone. As a celebrity, it was not difficult for Qing Yutong to sing. Qing Yutong's singing was one of the best. Qingya and Dongwang Baiji aren't bad either. After all, beauties with beautiful voices wouldn't be bad at singing. At this time, Qing Yutong asked in a low voice, "Brother-in-law, what song do you know how to sing? Then, let's play a song, Lugger's Love." Yihua said faintly. After Qingya and the others heard what Yihua said, they were all speechless. However, since Yihua likes it, then let him do it. When the subordinates heard that his honor was actually going to sing the song The Love of the Halled Man, all of them became very excited. It's a pity that there are still some people who are not here. If not, it would be perfect. Your honor is handsome. Your honor is mighty. Your honor, I'm your little fangirl. These words were said by Kai Yun, and he was even shaking the glow stick in his hand. Yihua's feeling came, along with the lyrics of the first sentence. His voice broke. The scene was a bit awkward. All of Lai Gu's subordinates were stupefied for a moment, then began praising his honor for singing well and all kinds of flattery, causing the atmosphere to become even more awkward. Chapter 1279. However, the main point wasn't whether his honor sang well or not. Rather, being able to listen to his honor's voice while standing on top of the stage. That was already an unparalleled honor. Who cares if his honor sang well or not? Although Yihua was very out of tune, he still managed to finish singing the song. His spirit of singing received the applause of his subordinates. Everyone had a thought in their minds. In the future, I better not let his honor sing anymore. This is too scary. I might as well just dance awkwardly with his honor. However, Yihua didn't seem to be satisfied and said faintly, "I, the Supreme Overlord, sing another song, save. Everyone, his honor, if you were to sing this song, then your subordinates would need to be saved." This is definitely not a joke. Yihua didn't know what his subordinates were thinking and immediately started singing. A few minutes later, seeing that his honor walked down from the stage, everyone let out a sigh of relief and clapped until their hands turned red. "Does it sound good?" Yihua asked Qingya. The corner of Qingya's mouth twitched. "Good, good. This is truly great. How about letting Yutong teach you?" Yihua's face sunk. "Qingya, are you saying that I, the Supreme Overlord, need someone to teach me if I don't sing well? How is that possible? Brother-in-law's singing skills are super great." Qing Yutong immediately smiled. Qingya shook her head. "You all can just spoil him." Afterward, each of the subordinates went to sing a song. For example, Wei Chong, he actually started singing a song about love. Not bad. Yihua felt that he was a bit lacking compared to me. Zishan was also singing a song of longing. She was definitely thinking about Yihong. I have already been away for half a year. This kind of experience isn't something that can be accomplished in 1 or 2 years. It should be at least 10 years. However, when Death Mage went up to sing, the entire place immediately quietened down. Seriously, if you want to laugh, you have to be unable to hold it in. However, looking at Death Mage being so affectionate, if you were to laugh, it would be a bit impolite. However, Yi Zizi was the first one to laugh. Following Yi Zizi's laughter, the others finally couldn't hold it in anymore. Is it possible for a skeleton to not laugh when he sings with GGG, unless his face is stiff? At 12 o'clock, everyone arrived outside of the palace. When midnight arrived, beautiful fireworks blossomed in the sky of the entire voidless empire. In the past, there was no tradition of celebrating Chinese New Year, but from this year onwards, there was a tradition of celebrating Chinese New Year. Looking at the fireworks in the sky, a trace of a smile could be seen on the corner of Yihua's mouth. My New Year's wish is that I hope that the entire guild can be happy and enjoy the joys of life, and let all of the enemies go to hell. 1 year after another. Time passed by in a hurry, but to people who learn martial arts, 12 years passed by very quickly. During these 12 years, everything was calm and peaceful. No one stirred up any trouble. Yihua had almost forgotten about the Guardians. There was still that fortune teller who was researching on how to forge legendary weapons every single day. As a man, it was important to have his own interests and hobbies. However, the people who went out to train have yet to return. However, Yihua found out from Zhu Tian's mouth that those people were very strong right now, and that they would be returning soon. However, within the entire team, a young man also appeared. That was Gong Yu's child, Yi. From this name, it could be seen that Gong Yu seemed to have let go of a lot of things. Maybe Gong Yu was also apologizing for the things that happened in the past. At that time, she had framed Yi too much. Yi was an obedient boy. Although he was only 12 years old, his achievements were extraordinary. At such a young age, he had already surpassed his mother's strength, and his looks were also inherited from his father and mother. In the future, he would definitely be a very handsome person. Ever since he was born, he had never seen his father. He had only seen his big uncle, big aunt, grandma, and big uncle subordinates. However, the person that Yi wanted to see the most was his father. Just that right now, his father had yet to return home. But hearing that his father was going to return home soon, Yi was very happy. I heard that I still have cousin brother and cousin sister, but I have never seen them before. My mother said that when they were very young, they were sent away by big uncle. Compared to my cousin brother and cousin sister, I am really lucky to be able to grow up by my mother's side. In actuality, Yihua was planning to send Yi away. Gong Yu had no choice and was unable to stop him, but Lu Jing was firmly against it. How can all the children be sent away? Yihua was unable to change his mother's mind and could only compromise. However, after so many years, other than Gong Yu who gave birth to a child, the others did not have any reaction at all. For example, Zhu Tian and Brett, no matter what, they were unable to get a child. It was not only the two of them. Even Yihua and Qin Yuqing were unable to get pregnant. This caused Yihua be very shocked. It must be that fortune teller who cursed me. Back then, I gave birth to one child at a time, and now I actually caused my wife to be unable to get pregnant. As a man, this is a shameful action. Even if Qing Su concocted medicine, he would not be able to solve the problem of population growth. Qin Yuqing was naturally very depressed. Why can't I get pregnant? At first, I thought that it was because of me, and I was very worried, afraid that Yihua would not like me. After all, a woman not being able to give birth to a man's child, this is very hard to accept. However, later on, she found out that Qing Yutong was also unable to get pregnant. Finally, she felt relieved. It is not my problem, it is Yihua's problem. However, she did not dare to say such words. In the past, Qing Yutong did not want to have a child, and now that she wanted to have a child, she was unable to get pregnant. This caused Qing Yutong to be depressed every day. Qingya and Dongwang Baiji's consolation did not work. Right now, Yihua felt that he had to solve this pregnancy problem. Why is it that the entire party is unable to get pregnant? This shouldn't be a curse. It should be a problem with feng shui. Should I change a place to give birth? For example, go to a bar? After all, Ali and the others were all born in a bar. Yihua tried it, but in the end it was still useless. Seems like I, the Supreme Overlord, have to go and take a look at the andrology department. After 12 years of development, Wushu Empire was no longer that small empire in the past, and it had already expanded by a few times. If one were to walk through the entire Wushu Empire, it would take at least a month. From this, it could be seen just how big Wushu Empire was. Yihua also brought his own ideology into the empire, the coexistence of humans and other races. Although there were conflicts in the beginning, no one dared to go against Yihua. After all, no one wanted to go to the execution ground. With such a forceful method, the people from other races moved into the empire. It could be discovered that the humans were actually afraid of the other races, and the other races were also afraid of the humans, afraid that the other party would harm them. This kind of situation continued for a year, and after that, the situation became a lot better, and the humans were no longer that afraid of the other party. However, the people from other races didn't live separately, and Yihua considered that it was not realistic, thus he divided a piece of land for the people from other races to live in. All in all, the current situation was a good one. What was worth celebrating was that 1 year ago, a human male got married to a woman from another race. Chapter 1280. This caused a sensation in the entire Wushu Empire, and even Yihua was shocked. He personally attended the wedding and advocated for this method. He wanted to encourage, support, and even provide subsidies. The cost of the children's growth would all be borne by Wushu Empire. When this news came out, it indeed encouraged a lot of humans. However, there were some females of different races that were really hard to get along with. For example, the Oxhead woman, her entire body was covered with brown fur, and no matter how beautiful she was, she still had horns on her head. This was an extremely challenging thing. Even with all kinds of benefits, there were very few who were able to get along with one another, and there was only one pair right now. To this man, other people were very envious of him. After all, he was marrying a fox. Although the fox's ears were furry, that only added to the cute atmosphere. Furthermore, no matter how bad the fox race was, the females were all beauties. Of course, the prerequisite was that you had to endure the fox odor. However, with Wushu Empire's strength, solving this problem was a piece of cake. Yihua even directly gave the order to help the fox race get rid of the fox odor for free. This was another benefit. Right now, there were still people who were dating, but they had not reached the stage of marriage. After all, this required time to get used to each other. Human ladies like handsome men too, and the fox race was full of handsome men too. Human men liked beautiful women too, and the fox race was the best choice. Actually, in the human world, the fox race was more like slaves, and they could be bought with money. Those who were rich all liked this type of people. The fox race naturally knew this point as well. In the process of interacting with humans, they were also very careful. If not for the emperor's decree, they wouldn't even dare to interact with humans. What Yihua gave was the female protection law. As long as the evidence was conclusive, the person who molested a woman would be directly beheaded. Knowing how ruthless the emperor was, no one dared to touch a woman, not even dared to use their hands. If they were to touch a woman, they would immediately die. This made the unmarried women of Wushu Empire clap their hands. To them, Wushu Empire was like a paradise. In this place, they did not need to fear the nobles, and they also did not need to fear their enemies. This kind of feeling was super good. Yihua also advocated it. However, the evil Eye Gu was thinking, is it really good for humans and beasts to be together? Dong dong dong. Within Wushu Empire's palace, the sound of smithing rang out in the emperor's bedroom. This sound had already rang out for 12 years, and the people in the palace were already used to it. The emperor had a hobby, and that was smithing. The children are finally coming back, Qingya said excitedly. After 12 years, Qingya had changed a little. This change wasn't because she had become old. Rather, she had become more mature. Her temperament and aura had also become very powerful. Right now, ordinary people wouldn't even dare to look straight into Qingya's eyes. Dongwang Baiji, who was sitting on the opposite side, revealed a smile on her face as well. That's right, it has been 12 years. Looking at the time, Ali should be 20 years old now, right? She should be a big girl now. The Empress was getting more and more beautiful. As expected, time could make a woman even more charming. For the past 12 years, Qingya and Dongwang Baiji really didn't even take a single look at the children. Of course, this was all because Yihua didn't allow them to do so, and the reason that Yihua gave them was very weird. Are you curious about what the children will be like after 12 years? Anyway, a few years have passed, so just bear with it. Every single time, Yihua would always use this sort of excuse, angering Qingya, Dongwang Baiji, and Yihua to sleep on separate beds. To be honest, even Yihua was curious about what the children had become. If it was possible, Yihua would be able to see the children at any time. However, Yihua didn't do that. In fact, he didn't even go and inquire about the children's whereabouts. Lu Jing had already told Yihua many times, "How can there be a father like you, not seeing your children for more than 10 years?" Towards the issue of children, Yihua was very persistent. I wonder what Yen'er has become." Qing Yutong supported her chin with both of her hands. Although a smile could be seen on the corner of her mouth, a hint of hesitation could be seen in the depth of her gaze. Qing Yutong calculated her age. "I am already 30+ years old. I also want to have a child. Back then, I wanted to play around more, but now that I want to have a child, I am unable to give birth to a child." After 12 years, Qing Yutong had lost her immaturity, and she had become much more mature. She was no longer like how she was in the past. Back then, she was just like a crazy girl. Qian Yu Qingmin, who was at the side, let out a light sigh as she drank her tea. The question in her mind was the same as Qing Yutong. "I am so envious of Qingya and Baiji for having a son and a daughter with Yihua." Dong Wang Baiji laughed. "I am rather curious. Did God Ye's personality change a little?" "That's right. There is also Lu Er's personality." Qingya was a bit worried. Yi Lu's personality is pretty much the same as God Ye's. The two ice lumps definitely inherited Yi Hua's personality. Yi Yin is much better, and of course, there is also Ali. As long as I think that I will be able to see my children very soon, my heart will become extremely excited. They are already taller than me right now. Qingya stood up and gestured with a motherly radiance on the corner of her mouth. Qing Yutong and Qian Yu Qingmin were about to die of depression. These two freaks who were showing off their children, these few days they have been talking about their children this and that. What are the two of us who are unable to get pregnant going to do? Dongwang Baiji said lightly. "Look at this fellow. He doesn't seem to mind at all. He only knows how to forge iron every day. He might as well just sleep together with iron. He doesn't want to sleep together with us." Men, especially Yihua, don't seem to know how to express their feelings. In actuality, the longing in his heart was not any less than Qingya and Baiji. After all, they were all his children. Right now, Yihua was currently hammering a piece of black-colored iron sheet. Judging from the degree of hardness, this piece of iron sheet was not an ordinary iron sheet. After all, for Yihua to be able to be hammered by the black-colored iron sheet and not break it, it was sufficient to prove that the black-colored iron sheet wasn't broken. Yihua appeared to be very focused and also appeared to be very careful. This piece of metal is pure gold. In actuality, the degree of hardness of the pure gold was not that exaggerated. On the contrary, the pure gold was very fragile. If one did not control the pure gold properly, the pure gold would break. However, if one did not have enough strength, the pure gold would not be able to form the pure gold. This was the difficult part, controlling one's own strength. To Yihua, this was not an easy thing to do. Thus, tiny beads of sweat could be seen appearing on Yihua's forehead. This piece of pure gold had already been forged for 5 years, and right now, the appearance of the pure gold had already reached the level that Yihua desired. It was a saber, but it was not an ordinary saber. The body of the saber was slender and much longer than the average saber, reaching 1 meter long. If the handle was added, it would be at least 2 meters long. In the future, when the heavenly flame was added, the color would change. This was also the most difficult step. This was because there was only one chance. If he failed, he might not be able to find the materials in a short period of time. Suddenly, Yihua stopped. "Your Honor." Zhu Tian knelt at the side and shouted out respectfully. Yihua said gravely, "Zhu Tian, when I am forging, I need to concentrate." Subordinate was rash. Zhu Tian said apologetically. Chapter 1281. Yihua put down the hammer in his hand. However, when the hammer landed on the ground shook a bit. "The trainees are coming back?" Yihua asked faintly. In actuality, everyone knew about the situation of the people who went out to train. Right now, Yihua's improvement was very big, and he did not go out for nothing for the past 10+ years. It's just that Xiao Tian had lost an arm, and of course, he had to pay the price in order to save someone. Yihua had a whole new level of respect for this little brother of his. The current Yi Juetian is calm and reserved, completely different from the previous Yi Juetian. This is a real man. There was responsibility. There was a sense of responsibility. Yi Juetian was the leader of that group of people who were going to train. Yihua was very gratified. My little brother has finally grown up. As for my broken arm, I can still think of a way to deal with it. No, it's just that little Honor and the others are preparing to have a competition. Is your Honor interested in going over to take a look? Spar? Yihua asked curiously. Zhu Tian nodded his head. That's right. From the reports, it seems that it will be a contest between the Meridian-breaking sect and the deity institution. Little Senior is the representative of both sides, and also the trump card of both sides. I believe that Little Senior and the others will be able to encounter each other. After hearing that, Yihua became silent. The competition between the children seems to be a bit interesting. It is worth going to take a look at it. After so many years, I also want to see what they have learned. Originally, Yihua was still planning to hold a grand ceremony to welcome the children, but right now, the competition between the children seemed to be very important as well. From the looks of it, I have to change my plans. All right, I understand. Yihua said faintly. Zhu Tian said lightly. Your Honor, subordinates also wish to go and take a look at Little's Honor. Yihua laughed. These subordinates who like to watch a good show. Approved. Zhu Tian was delighted. Thank you, Your Honor. You may leave. Yes. After Zhu Tian left, Yihua walked to the side and fetched a basin of water. After wiping the filth on his face and washing his hands, Yihua walked out of the bathroom. Seeing that the four women were sitting in the pavilion and chatting, Yihua walked towards his wives. However, Qinya and the others snorted, then turned their heads away, indicating that they were angry and didn't want to pay attention to us. Looking at the reactions of his wives, Yihua wanted to laugh as well. To think that I'm still a child, I am already an old woman. Pour me a cup of water, Yihua said faintly. However, the four women did not have any reaction. Each of them had their own anger. Just like Qin Yutong and Qian Yuqing, they were angry that Yihua could not give them a child. In the past few months, Yihua had already gotten used to the reactions of these women. In the beginning, Yihua would still be angry, but now, all of them no longer have any reactions. It's precisely because he was spoiled by me that he's very arrogant right now. Now, only Daji was slightly better, but Daji's current mission was to take care of her mother. Do you want to go see your child? Yihua asked faintly. Sure enough, upon hearing what Yihua said, Qinya and Dongwang Baiji immediately became spirited. Turning their head around, they looked towards Yihua and asked excitedly, We can go and see the children now? Really? You're not lying to us? Trying to amuse us? Pour me a cup of tea, Yihua said faintly. Qinya and Dongwang Baiji, one was holding a cup, and the other was holding a teapot. Yihua sat at the side and drank a mouthful of tea, then said, Let's go and fetch the children back together and take a look at their achievements in the past few years. Achievement? Dongwang Baiji asked in confusion. Yihua nodded his head. That's right. Just now, according to Absolute Heaven's intelligence, the children represent two powers, and they are going to fight. How can this be? They are brothers and sisters. How can they fight like this? Qinya immediately became unwilling. How can I let the children fight against each other? This is too outrageous. Yihua said faintly, It's nothing. Let's go and take a look. If I am not satisfied, I can go and continue exiling them to another place. Yihua, you two tidy up a bit, then we will set off. Yihua said faintly. Right now, I finally understand a principle. When a husband and wife are together for a long time, their love will turn into familial love, and they will no longer have the passion that they had in the past. Could it be that I, the Supreme Overlord, am getting old? Or could it be that I, the Supreme Overlord, am getting old? How is that possible? That doesn't exist. After Yihua left, Qinya and Dongwang Baiji were still a bit absent-minded. After so many years, to suddenly hear that they could go and see the children, they felt like they were dreaming. Yutong, Just now, your brother-in-law said that we're going to fetch the children. Is that true? Qing Yutong nodded her head, and a smile finally appeared on her face. Qing Yutong was happy for her big sister. 12 years isn't long, but it isn't short either. Big sister and Baiji have endured for so long. This is great, Baiji. That's right. Dongwang Baiji cried tears of joy. My Ali and Shun both of them are like flesh that fell from my body. When I was at home, I felt that they were too noisy, but when I was not at home, I missed them so much. Right now, Dongwang Baiji was thinking in her heart, Ali should be very beautiful, right? When I left home, she was only 8 years old, and now she's already 20 years old, and also Shin and the others, they're already 16 years old now, and they're also men now. I wonder if they have found a girlfriend or not. Mother's really worried about them. What Dongwang Baiji was thinking in her heart was also what Qingyu was thinking in her heart. Yin is still all right. Boys won't be at a disadvantage, but I'm afraid that Yi Lu, if she were to meet a boy like Yihua, who knows how to talk and is also fickle, that would be troublesome, and she would definitely be at a disadvantage. In the future, when Yi Lu is by my side, I have to properly talk to her. Don't ever believe in a man's mouth. Your mother is someone who has been through it. I have experience. Very quickly, Yihua came out of the house after changing into a set of clean clothes. It was still that black robe that he was wearing, which was simple yet dignified. As for the wives, they dressed up properly. After all, they were going to meet the children soon, and it was time for them to dress up. Yihua, let's go. Qingya held onto Yihua's arm and said happily. If Yihua didn't remember wrongly, it had already been 4 months since Qingya last acted intimately towards him. As expected, it is still because of the children. Even Dongwang Baiji is the same. Looking at my sister-in-law and Qian Yuqing, I have already gone to the registration and have them checked, and there are no problems at all. In the end, it is still me who is blaming myself for not being able to give birth to the children. What else can I do? In the entire team, I'm not the only one who is unable to conceive. In the past, Qian Yuqing was so obedient, but right now, she has also been led astray by Yutong and learned to get angry at me. Wait, Yihua said faintly. Qingya and Dongwang Baiji's expression immediately changed. Yihua, are you trying to make us happy? Let me tell you, if you were to make fun of us today, we would have run away from home. If I remember correctly, I have already said this 328 times, but every single time I did not run away from home, and every single time I would return to my room and cry. Women cannot be spoiled. If I were to spoil them, they would have a problem. Waiting for someone. Right now, you've already had antibodies against them. No matter how unreasonable they are, I, the Supreme Overlord, will have this reaction. Waiting for someone? Dongwang Baiji asked puzzledly. However, right after Dongwang Baiji finished speaking, over 10 people instantly appeared behind Yihua. Chapter 1282. Even the guardian, Rin Yao, is here. Seems like she is interested in Yihua's children as well. When Qingya and the others saw that all of Yihua's subordinates had arrived, they all went into a daze. Dongwang Baiji felt that Yihua wanted to be ostentatious. After all, he's going to pick up his children. Subordinate pays respect to his honor and madams. All of the subordinates shouted out respectfully. Yihua lightly raised his hand. Get up. Remember one thing, we are only going there to be spectators. As for other things, there is no need for us to do anything else, understand? Subordinate understands. Thinking about it, this was the first time that all of Yihua's subordinates were going out after gathering the 7 deadly sins. However, they were not going to eliminate the enemies. They were going to see the children. Qingya and Dongwang Baiji did not say anything. Right now, they only wanted to see the children. Everything else could be put aside. Just now, when Lu Jing heard that her grandson and granddaughter were coming back, she was extremely excited. I can finally see Yihua's children. I am so happy. In the south, today was an important day, and that day was the battle between 2 big powers. To put it nicely, it was to exchange feelings, but in reality, it was just to see which side students were more powerful. For Meridian Break Sect, they had two trump cards, and that was Dongwang, Li, and God Yi. For Shin Academy, they had two trump cards, and that was Yi Yin and Yi Lu. Actually, in the past few years, everyone knew that both sides had such trump cards, and they wanted to see just who was more powerful in the battle between the trump cards. However, today, the battle finally happened. In the past, it was just a small fight, but this time, it was for real. The battle between the two top powers shook the entire South, and even the top experts from the North came to watch. After all, the participants from both sides were really exciting. Everyone said that these few youngsters would surpass the Dozun realm in the future, which made everyone excited. The battle this time was also organized by the chairman, and some people even said that the stingy chairman actually went all out this time to actually make it so grand. In the South, there was a valley called Maple Forest Valley. During this season, the entire valley looked as if it was bathed in gold, and it was not an exaggeration to say that there were 10 miles of maple trees. However, the venue this time was a little special. There were no buildings, not even an arena. This made many people feel that the chairman was as stingy as ever. But in fact, in order to settle this Maple Forest Valley, the chairman had already put in a lot of effort. This valley wasn't without a master. It was the territory of a supreme martial artist. Moreover, this was planted by a supreme being. If they were to fight, one could well imagine the consequences. But the chairman still gave him a lot of delicious food. Actually, even if he didn't give them any benefits, this supreme being would still give them some. That was because this supreme being also wanted to see for himself whether or not those youngsters were as powerful as the rumors said. At this moment, in Maple Forest Valley, two figures seemed to be chatting about something. One was a woman, and the other was a man. Both of them were wearing the white robes of the Broken Meridian sect. In that case, he must be someone from the Meridian Breaking sect. The young man was a head taller than the girl, but this did not mean that the girl was short. On the contrary, the girl was very tall. Her skin was as white as snow, and if she stood under the sun, she would definitely be able to reflect the light. Her nose bridge was elegant, and her cherry lips were like drops of water. Her beautiful appearance would cause men to daydream. Her pair of beautiful eyes exuded. It wasn't that she wasn't beautiful, but rather, it gave people a feeling that they were going to be cheated. However, the boy standing in front of her had a cold expression on his face. His tall and straight figure caused the girl to be dazzled. If one were to see that face again, they would immediately be intoxicated. So cold, so handsome, so character. However, in the depths of the boy's eyes, there was actually nervousness. That's right, these two were the grown-up Dongwang, Li, and God Yi. Even if Yi Hua and the Empress saw them, they wouldn't be able to recognize them at all. This change was simply too big. They were completely two different people compared to when they were young. Especially God Yi. His facial features were a combination of his parents, but he looked more like Dongwang Baiji, while Dongwang Li looked more like Yi Hua. The two's appearance was off the charts. In the Broken Meridian sect, they were the class representatives of appearance. Especially God Yi. A lot of girls gave up on the God of Gods Academy just to get close to their Adonis, God Yi. This also caused the number of females in the Broken Meridian sect to double in recent years, and the ratio had already reached 3:7. Don't you think it's terrifying? The Broken Meridian sect was about to become a female academy. That gave faction master Changhan a headache. These girls were only interested in chasing after men. As long as God Yi was around, there would definitely be screams. Even if God Yi was in class, the surroundings would be filled with people. There were even some senior sisters who wanted to take advantage of the younger generation and use their status to oppress others. In an instant, thousands of girls objected to the oppression. God Yi did not belong to an individual, but to all girls. However, that made God Yi depressed, especially when he was taking a bath. He had to take special precautions, as girls would rush in if he was even slightly careless. God Yi had not forgotten that those dozen or so girls seemed to want to eat him up, and even took away all his clothes. If he could take away his body, that might be the case. In the end, God Yi had no choice but to tell the faction master about it. After Chang'an found out, he ordered that anyone who peeked at God Yi taking a bath would be expelled from the sect. Sure enough, in order to be with their Adonis for a long time, the girls became reserved, but that was only because they did not act impulsively. If they acted impulsively, they would end up in a group fight. God Yi had two major fan groups. The fights had reached more than 30 times, and the most serious one had the children's clothes torn by the other party. It was a feast for the eyes of the boys in the sect. What they wanted to see the most was these girls fighting. Pulling hair, scratching face, and even tearing clothes. It was too exciting. However, the reason for the fights was very strange. For example, God Ye's clothes were raided. However, as long as there was a disagreement, they would fight. The strangest one was whether God Yi took a dump or not. If God Yi knew that there were people peeking at him, even when he took a dump, he would want to die. However, when he thought that the mission was about to be completed, he would be able to go back and get rid of those girls. "Sis, do you think Mom and Dad will come?" God Yi said faintly, holding a yellow leaf in his hand, his face filled with longing. Dong Wangli chuckled, then reached out to pinch God Ye's face. God Yi subconsciously took a step back. Dong Wangli's face sank, and God Yi obediently took a step forward. Dong Wangli pinched God Ye's face. "Brother, don't change the topic. Have you gotten your girlfriend yet? If Dad saw that you didn't find a girlfriend, he would be so disappointed." The last time Qing Yutong and the others came over, God Yi mistakenly thought that his father had a new order to bring his girlfriend home. Now that the time was almost up, God Yi became anxious. Chapter 1283. Letting his father down was something God Yi did not want to see. Anything was fine, but he must not let his father down. Qing Yutong might not know, but this nephew of hers was completely swindling him. "I think that Lu Xian is actually pretty good. It's a pity that no one else is interested in you. You've been courting her for half a year, but you can't even say 10 sentences to her. Brother, how straight do you have to be? I don't expect you to kiss her, but holding her hand is good enough. You haven't inherited Dad's flirting skills at all." Dong Wangli said a whole bunch of things. Dong Wangli is simply like a demon that harms her younger brother. Truth be told, Dong Wangli was just playing along with God Ye's plan. With God Ye's personality, it would definitely be impossible for him to chase after a girl, unless it was her father's order. Right now, God Ye already has a girl that he likes, so he should just chase after her. In fact, God Ye had already started pursuing Lu Xian'er half a year ago. It cannot be helped since it was a task given by his father. However, even if it was a task, he had to pick someone who was presentable, so he chose Lu Xian'er. Lu Xian was also a great beauty that was on par with Dong Wangli, and her strength was also very good. The most important thing was that her senior sister was the same age as Dong Wangli, 20 years old this year. It was God Ye's first time seeing someone else. He immediately said, "Woman, be my wife." Such a tone was simply like that of a domineering CEO. Unfortunately, the other person directly said, "Sorry, I don't like little boys." With that, he turned around and left. That stunned God Yi on the spot. He was the son of a supreme paragon, and yet he was rejected today. If word of this were to reach his father's ears, what face would he have left? He would die of shame. However, this matter was immediately known by Dong Wangli, because Dong Wangli and Lu Xian'er were living together. After such a thing happened, Lu Xian'er naturally told her good friend Dong Wangli about it. "Your brother must be crazy." Dong Wangli's face was filled with awkwardness. "Who in the world would be flirting with a girl like you? You immediately said such words to me. If you were able to get a girl, then there would be a ghost in the world." Perhaps because he was rejected, God Ye's competitive spirit was aroused. He began to use moves that he thought were powerful. Block the door. Send flowers. If Yihua was here, he would definitely give a slap to his son's head. "How can I have such a stupid child like you? If you directly spoil the child, wouldn't the child be yours? Look at your mother. She was conquered by me just like that. In this day and age, as long as you have a child, anything is possible. Marriage is a given. You're really wasting your brain cells, idiot. Sister, what do you think I should do? Xian will leave the moment she sees me. I can't even say a word. I'm going home soon, and I won't be able to bring my girlfriend back. God, you felt terrified just thinking about it. Dong Wang Li said earnestly, All right, listen to Big Sister. There might still be a chance for you to be saved. After all, Xian and I are in the same dormitory, and I feel that Xian is interested in you. Interested in me? Really? God Yi was in disbelief and felt that his sister was comforting him. He felt that he was considered aloof, but Lu Xian'er was even more aloof in front of him. However, she would smile in front of others, while he was like a cockroach. Of course, how can you not believe Big Sister's words? Dong Wang Li said seriously. To be honest, God Yi did not really believe that Big Sister was a disaster right now, the kind that everyone was afraid of, the kind that everyone had to stay away from. Even the sect master had to speak nicely to her. If not, she would cause chaos in meridian-breaking sect. There were all sorts of reasons for her to do that. Generally speaking, she would increase her strength and then accidentally make a mistake, such as blowing up a house or burning down the library. In short, she would cause all sorts of trouble. Everyone was afraid. She is truly a little demon. No, she's already a big demon now. A lot of people had witnessed Dong Wang Li's destructive potential, and it simply made people want to escape. To be able to live together with someone as terrifying as Dong Wang Li, that Lu Xian'er was definitely not a simple person. I believe, of course I believe. God Yi said against his conscience. No matter what Big Sister says, I won't do it. However, the current situation is different. Without waiting for Dong Wang Li to speak, God Yi suddenly asked curiously, Big Sister, how is your search going? Me? Other than you, who else dares to get close to your big sister? God Yi nodded his head subconsciously. There's nothing wrong with what God Yi said. Then, Big Sister, aren't you afraid that Daddy will be disappointed? God Yi asked curiously. Dong Wang Li patted on God Yi's shoulder. Little brother, I'm a woman. God Yi instantly understood. Girls have their own advantages, and I can't. Daddy's expectations of me are very high. Big Sister, just tell me, I will listen to you. Dong Wang Li said seriously, Stretch out your arm. God Yi stretched out his arm, expressing his curiosity. Muscles aren't that awesome. Dong Wang Li looked at her brother's biceps. Too low. They aren't even inflated. God Yi didn't quite understand. Strength has nothing to do with muscles, right? Look at Daddy. Do you have any muscles? You probably don't know about this, but girls like guys with muscles. I heard that from Xian'er. Then why would Mommy like Daddy? Dong Wang Li's face sunk. God Yi, I'm teaching you not to talk about Daddy and Mommy. How would I know? Oh, Big Sister doesn't know. You, Scram, I'm not teaching you anymore. God Yi hurriedly pulled her back, then said with a fawning tone, Big Sister, I was wrong. Act coquettishly for Big Sister. God Yi was speechless. God Yi took a deep breath, then shouted out with a tone that caused one's scalp to go numb, Big Sister, sob, sob, sob. Dong Wang Li laughed out loud. God Yi hurriedly stopped acting like that. Even he himself felt disgusted. Stop laughing. God Yi said sternly. When the time comes, I will call someone over. Dong Wang Li stabilized her emotions. Although you don't have a lot of muscles, you still have some curves. You need to show off your muscles in front of Xian'er. I believe that Xian'er will look at you in a different light. After saying that, even Dong Wang Li herself didn't believe it. However, there was a reason why she said that. God Yi cared too much about his face, even more so than her father. How is it possible to win a girl's heart when chasing after a girl? That was why she had to train God Yi's shamelessness, just like herself. You still need a chance. God Yi said seriously. Dong Wang Li couldn't help but knock on her brother's head. You idiot. Tomorrow is the martial arts competition, and Xian'er will be watching as well. Just show off your muscles. Do you know that if you can't win her heart, you're dead? God Yi's gaze instantly became firm. The martial art competition, this time, was mainly to pick up girls. For the sake of the mission, God Yi had even forgotten the promise he made with his sister, Yi Lu. However, at that moment, under the shade of a tree in Maple Valley. Chapter 1284. Under the maple forest, with a smile on his face, a boy was currently kissing a girl, and that girl's face was filled with shyness, seemingly not knowing what to do. The boy's height had already reached 8 meters. He was wearing black clothes, and there was a black bamboo flute on his waist. His hair was combed back, and his facial features were extremely handsome. While kissing, the boy opened his eyes and looked at the shy girl in front of him. Needless to say, this was Ian, who had grown up. He had simply become a playboy. However, Ian did not do anything else. He only kissed the girl, and even his hands were only holding onto the girl's shoulders. Ian! Suddenly, a shout rang out, causing Ian, who was currently enjoying, to go into a daze. He lightly let go of the girl, and a girl with a face filled with anger could be seen standing at the side. This girl's looks were not bad, just that right now. Her face was filled with anger, and her pair of beautiful eyes looked as if they were going to spew out flames. However, Ian appeared to be very calm. The folding fan on his right hand opened up, and on the folding fan, there were even big words written by himself. Scumbag. Ian, what do you mean by this? The girl questioned angrily. He actually kissed another girl behind my back. Ian shrugged his shoulders and waved his folding fan. Xiao Sun, don't get agitated. Just let Big Brother kiss you once. Scram. I don't want to see you anymore. You are a scumbag. The girl turned around and ran away, and her tears fell down from the sky. Ian let out a light sigh and mumbled, such a big word. You only saw it now. Seriously. Xiao Qing, let Big Brother kiss you again. I don't want, I thought. So you were a scumbag. The girl seemed to have seen through Ian's true colors and immediately ran away. Ian went into a daze for a moment, then laughed lightly, sigh. Girls nowadays are just too careless. They don't understand my inner qualities and are only attracted by my outstanding appearance. Too shallow. How many is it now? Suddenly, an ice-cold voice rang out. Ian counted with his fingers. Counting, this is already the 312 big sisters that I have harmed. Big Brother's awesome, right? Yilu's figure walked out from the side. Right now, Yilu was 1 year younger than Ian. Although she wasn't as tall as Ian, she was still one of the best. Yilu was still as cold as usual, and this coldness was even more severe than when she was young. Hence she was called Ice Goddess. If one were to say that in the Meridian-breaking sect, many young ladies were there for God Yi. Then in the Divine Academy, most of the young men were there for Yilu. Reality proved that being aloof was indeed attractive. Look at the current Yilu. A girl really changed 18 times between womanhood and womanhood. Her beauty was not inferior to Qinya at all. In fact, she was even better than Qinya. How could a girl like her not drive men crazy? For so many years, other than harming girls, Yian didn't do anything great. However, this kind of scumbag, Yian's face. However, there was nothing Yilu could do about her brother. He called himself a scumbag, but even so, there were still many young ladies who risked their lives to die for him. Situations like what had just happened once or twice a month. If father sees you like this, he will definitely be angry, Yilu said indifferently. Yian patted his little sister's shoulder. This isn't Big Brother's fault. Look at Big Brother's fan, but there's still girls going up. I can only blame Big Brother for being too good-looking, too outstanding. Yilu glared at her big brother. Prepare to be scolded by Mom and Dad. I'm going to snitch. We are related. Big Brother didn't do anything bad. I am just telling these girls not to be deceived by a man's appearance. In the end, Big Brother is doing a good deed. Yian waved his fan and smiled, appearing very elegant. This sentence was indeed true. Yian's appearance was indeed very handsome. Twisting words and forcing logic. Yilu snorted. Yian smiled. This was just a small problem. School life was so boring. He had to kill time. After this competition, we are going home. Thinking about it makes me a bit excited. Yian's expression changed. If there was a child who changed the most, it would be Yian. Although Yian looked very frivolous just now, The fierceness in his eyes was even fiercer than Yihua's. It was just that Yin hid it well. Yilu naturally knew about her big brother's change and was a bit worried. Actually, she was just joking. Yilu used this method to suppress the demon in her heart. When Yin thought about going home, his father would put him in an important position, and then he would be able to show off his skills. This was the life he wanted. Yin, that is a man who will step on corpses and stand at the peak. My achievements will definitely be higher than father's. I will become the most outstanding man in the entire Yi family. And this competition will be the first step for me, Yin, to make my debut. Big sister, little brother God Yi, don't disappoint me, because when I, Yin, am fierce, I am really fierce. There was a loud smack. Yin held the back of his head. It hurts. What are you fantasizing about again? It is time to find a new girlfriend. Yin spread his hands and laughed. Yilu said helplessly, "Can't you have a good talk? Do you have to be a scumbag? That doesn't exist." Yin kept his folding fan, looked at the golden leaves, then suddenly said faintly, "You are going to fight against God Yi soon. Do you have any chance of winning?" When it came to serious matters, Yilu became serious, 50% chance. Although we are a family this time, it is a test of 10+ years of achievements. Big brother hopes that you can win. Right now, Yin was no longer that little kid who followed behind Dongwang Li. He also knew about honor, and as a father's child, he can only win, he cannot lose. I know, Yilu said coldly. After so many years, Yilu has been looking forward to fighting against God Yi. I must win. As expected of my, Yan's little sister, big brother has high hopes for you. Yin patted onto his little sister's head. Luckily, no one saw this action. If not, it would have shocked everyone. Yilu did not resist and said softly, "Then what about you, big brother?" "Number one," Yin said with a slight smile, and a fierce look flashed past his eyes. Right at that moment, a figure slowly walked over, and the brother and sister immediately looked over. That figure was a youngster who was also wearing black clothes. He appeared calm, but the stubbornness in his eyes was very obvious. That person was Lin Chung. When they were young, the brother and sister often interacted with each other. Back then, Lin Chung even challenged Yin to a one-on-one fight and was directly abused like a dog. However, Lin Chung did not give up and even trained even more diligently. There was only one goal, and that was to defeat those two people, to become number one in Shun Institution. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.